Hey, Thomas, how are you?
Oh, good man, I'm good.
How's the
This
day?
week feels like it's not ending. Like
Are
I
you
can't.
serious? My
It's
my flew past like what? So I have this presentation I'm to do next week. So I've been trying to put up the materials together. And so yesterday was the kind of mini one where you have to speak to other researchers and then have a discussion about it.
mhm.
And a lot of people just pointing out, okay, why did you not do this? All of a sudden, next week looks so close. I
Yeah,
will present it, and you're here telling me the week it's not
I don't
moving.
know.
I'm like,
Probably
what?
because probably because you were busy. I haven't been that busy this week,
Okay, okay.
and I don't know. It just feels like the week's been dragging on, man.
Wow.
Probably because the days start earlier.
Oh, yeah, that's probably true
The
too. Yeah.
days are longer, so it just feels kind of like, what the hell? But you know, tomorrow's Friday,
It's
so.
fine. Yeah,
And
it's
then
weekend.
we get the compulsory 30 minute weekend break because weekends feel like a
Oh,
30-minute break. It don't feel like
oh,
a
because of the
weekend.
heat. Yeah.
No, I mean when I say 30 minute, I mean the weekend just feels like it's lasts just 30 minutes because
Yeah,
it's
it's
by
fine.
you
It
blink, it's
feels
over,
fine. Yeah,
it's done.
when you
You
go,
like
yeah, Formula One weekend like that, it usually just fly past so like you before you know
yeah,
it.
it just feels like it's done, man. But other than that, man, I'm good. You know, what I mean, I've just been shit, work.
That's lovely to
Work
hear.
is work. That ain't never gonna change.
It's not
So,
gonna
that ain't never gonna change. So work is work. What's up, Fabrice? Fabrice has never spoken in any of these spaces, has he?
Hey, never. I think I've
Yeah,
heard it spoken before.
a
Maybe
lot of
I could
these,
be mistaken. So someone else. I don't know.
a lot of these people that just pop their head in and disappear. They're embarrassing. They should be ashamed of themselves.
All right, Fabrice, come in. Say
Yeah.
something. Thanos is calling you out. So
Anyway, I call everybody out, man. Even I see Anna is in the house. I'm gonna. I see Anna. Yeah, we bullied Fabrice into coming into the space. You see,
wicked.
we should make it mandatory to bully people more often.
People, you just come in and have a chat, say something. You know, so
Just
just so
bully
we
people.
know,
What's up,
just
y'all?
so we hear you out. Okay, Fabrice is here. Let me.
Yeah. What's up, Fabrice? Eating, man. I hear the plate knocking.
Just chilling, man. About to eat breakfast. It's late morning in the on the west coast here.
Breakfast. What time is it?
10:40. I had a late night.
10:40. Which
Yeah,
where are
that would
you?
be west part of the United States, I think.
Is that LA?
California.
Oh,
California. Okay, yeah, that's
yeah.
it. Probably.
So
Yeah,
hold on. It's 10:40. It's now.
that's like 9 hours
So
ahead. Behind,
we're
rather.
yeah we're eight.
Probably.
I'm 8 hours ahead.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Now you know why we complain about those early races.
Oh, so I live
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah, yeah, well, you're living it tomorrow. Fabrice is tomorrow, so you can tell Fabrice what's
Yeah,
going to
tell me
happen.
my lottery numbers.
All right, then cool. Just provided you share, you give me 90% of the winnings.
Yeah,
I'll give you the numbers.
so many
Nah,
numbers.
man, let's go. Anyway, so another race weekend on us again. The set was it back to back race weekends this week,
Yeah, so
and
back to
then it's a month. The August
Monday to
shutdown,
break. Yeah, you have to go home.
and then it's gonna be a lot of oh god, it's gonna be. At least I watch other sports, so I should be fine for the whole time.
Premier League should start in the in between, so I'm fine.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
MotoGP should be back soon.
yeah,
World
yeah,
Superbike is still on, so
yeah.
I'll be pretty much occupied. I feel sorry for who just watch Formula One. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel
Are
sorry
there
for.
people like that really? I always think some
Yeah,
for the
sad
sport.
sad lives. They live a sad life. But
Yeah,
anyway,
maybe.
so the big unveil, the big Red
No.
Bull.
Let me look. Wait, Thanos. Thanos. Let me say it.
Go
It's
on.
going to be um big concept. It was a concept. The word concept was used for it. Like, how do you define concept in Formula One anymore? I mean, that was a concept, for example. You're telling me that a side pod whose diameter is the width has been extended and the height compressed is basically what, a new concept? Unless there's something else bringing
Everything is a new
tomorrow,
concept.
this is not a new concept.
Yeah, I think you said it. You said it that the word concept has become bastardized now.
It's
It's
been
like
used
because
so much.
everybody use it. Oh, new concept. They've gone to a new concept, but what exactly
It's a
constitutes a
concept.
concept? You
Yeah,
can't just change a side pod and like, oh, you're going to a new
a
concept. A
new
concept
concept, you know.
encompasses a great deal amount of things. So you just change
Yeah,
one thing, it's pretty much still the same
the
concept.
same
You
thing.
just made evolution tweaks
Of
and
something it tweaks exactly. I knew something was suspicious when they said a big concept change for the side pod, and it's going to give them 2 tenths. I'm like,
well, I mean
two tenths?
that's probably what this is going to give them because I genuinely don't believe Red Bull are finding that big chunk of performance like what we saw from McLaren a
Yeah,
week
yeah,
ago.
yeah,
Because
yeah. No, no, it's not going to happen. No, a second leap, that's not going to happen. I can.
remember
Well,
we've had this discussion and where we said I think from my point of view I think they've kind of somewhat plateaued. They've gotten to the maximum, and which is
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
which is somewhat worrying given that the regulation is so fresh that
No,
you basically be at the top, the
the top
zenith
by
of it
the
already
second year, yes.
in the second year.
And what brought that out for me is the fact that we were hearing recently that they want to change to a new concept card next year.
Hmm.
And I'm like, why would you want to change to a new concept if what you already have is it has to mean what you already have, you don't see a developmental part that will basically lead you to get more lap time because you're seeing what McLaren did. I think the scary part for Red Bull is if Mercedes can get that kind of a leap, they're in trouble. If
And
McLaren is getting a second in upgrade, if Mercedes gets anything close to that, Red Bull is basically in trouble. So I
yeah,
think that's where fear is coming in.
we've had this discussion, and I think as bad as things are for Mercedes at the moment, if you look at it based on what you've seen from the likes of Aston and McLaren, their position is not as bad as it seems because if you you're working on the basis that they've got a compromise car. There's
Yeah,
lots of changes they want to make that they can't do, which probably the most important is the chassis. They can't change that until next year.
yeah.
But yet the gap between themselves and Red Bull has not gotten any bigger.
No, no, it
It,
hasn't.
it hasn't really gotten any smaller, but it hasn't gotten any bigger. So it's still
Yeah,
within the half a second to point 0.7
it was, yeah,
of
that range, absolutely.
range. Now,
yeah,
if you
I was gonna say on that though, the thing that worries me is that Red Bull probably has a setup that they've worked out with that car, whereas all the other teams, Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston, McLaren, they have to kind of like take each other's spot as being the
yeah, but
second
that's what
fastest,
I'm
and
saying. So
McLaren might.
Yeah,
no one is actually behind Red Bull. No one has really established who is next in the
the
pecking
next
order.
best car, like
But
pursuing Red Bull. Yeah,
but what with my the Mercedes theory for me is, and I've pretty much been saying this, is they've got a compromised car and they've not actually been
Yeah,
left behind by people by the teams who've
who have been developing their car for almost
exactly
2 years.
started a
Yeah,
lot earlier. So
yeah,
like Aston, yes, Aston has made a massive leap this year because if you look at it, I think they gained some like 2 seconds in
close to
performance
2 seconds. Yeah,
over the
over.
winter,
Yeah,
right? Um, McLaren just gained roughly
a second.
from the start of no from the start of
Yeah,
the season to where they are now. I think
yeah,
they've probably gained about a second and a half in
and a half.
performance
Yeah, yeah.
within that period.
but they were
Within
bad.
that, yeah, but that's my point. They were that bad, but look at the jump they made. So they found a
They found
second and a
something
half
that gave them that lap time in terms of yeah.
within that period of time. So now, if you look at the Mercedes situation, we understand. Okay, it's a flawed concept. They pretty much accepted. I don't accepted that, and they're looking to move away from that concept. So they're working with what you say
Yeah,
Heavily
the
compromised
core
car.
DNA of the car is still the
Yeah,
W13.
absolutely.
It's still the W13, but it's now with some parts that are aimed towards the
The
W15.
W15, yeah.
So if you look at the gap between themselves and these other teams they've not been left behind.
Behind, yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
still there. They're only if you look at it on raw pace over Ferrari, Ferrari are quicker over a lap.
A
That's
single lap, yeah.
guaranteed. But when
Yeah.
you look at the more race pace
The
wise, they're
space,
pretty
yeah.
much there. It's if you go between Ferrari, Mercedes, and Aston, race pace wise, it's plus or minus 10 a tenth between the
Between the three of them,
10
yeah.
to 2 tenths between
Yeah.
all three of them.
Yeah.
No, if Mercedes is working with a flawed concept, and if we follow the trend of what we saw, what we've seen, the gains made by Aston over the winter, we can theorize that if Mercedes makes a similar jump in performance when they move to their concept, the likelihood is they'll be pretty much level with Red Bull on performance because the gap that they're closing is not as big as the gap that Aston was
I
closing.
said, yeah,
So
yeah.
Mercedes are looking to close, say, a seven, give it max, give it
It's
the
yeah,
upper hand, seven
it's seven
tenths.
tenths, 7 tenths. Yeah, that's what I said.
McLaren were, Aston were closing a gap of what?
Two and a
Two,
half to 3 cents. Yeah, 2.5 to
exactly,
3 seconds
exactly.
rather. Yeah,
So if you theorize it that okay, Mercedes pull their fingers out and they get their shit together and they get it right, they can theoretically find a second in
in lap
performance
time. Yeah,
over the winter. The
over the
question
winter.
now becomes what would Red Bull can find? But
Yeah,
given where Red Bull are, the likelihood is the gains that they'll be finding will be less
yeah. With this
because they,
current
because
concept that they are using,
exactly
yes,
because their
yeah.
concept is pretty much at a point where it's
At the zenith, yeah, it's at the
yeah.
top.
What more
It's
can
at the
they
zenith.
do? What more can they do? Because it's something. There was an interview with James Allison a couple of years ago, and he talked about it. And he said, "Look, when you've got a concept where it's gotten to a certain point, you no longer find like one element will give you a tenth, 2 tenths in
Yeah,
performance. What you're going to find is you finding little by little performances from certain elements, which you hope will then gives you a big
they
chunk of time.
found
Which
up
is maybe,
together to give
and he
you.
said like the most he probably could get is like a tenth or 2 tenths. So
Yeah,
if we go on that same sort of principle, it's likely that what Red Bull will find will be within that.
that
But
range.
again, this is all theoretically
It's theoretical.
speaking.
Yeah, you can
But
add caveat to that. Yeah, I agree.
we also got to remember that like a couple of seasons ago, you used to kind of like bring a new power unit and get that big like automatic gain from
But you
like
see the
more
problem.
power. Now you can't
But the
really.
problem, you see, I'm going to use the power unit as an example in this regard because when Mercedes in 2014 they got the jump on everyone because they understood the concept
Yeah,
earlier than everybody else. Granted, they at that time they also had a token system, so teams were limited in what they could do.
which is similar
But
to cost cap now, for example.
exactly. So
Yeah,
once
so
they removed the token system, Mercedes power unit, whilst at the beginning it was the top dog, but if you look on the scale of improvements from 2014 up until say 2019, their gains, the likes of Ferrari and Honda made bigger gains.
oh, absolutely. Yeah,
So Mercedes gains were
they were coming
Mercedes
from way down and
exactly. So Mercedes gains during that period were incremental, whereby the Ferrari were finding big chunks of
big jumps.
power,
Yeah,
and but eventually it plateaued because there was nothing more Mercedes could do to find performance because they literally explored
it's
every
flooded
single
every
avenue
angle. Yeah, yeah.
available to them. So no,
Yeah, and I
yeah,
think
go on.
in like 19, for example, it seemed like they knew they weren't gonna get those engine gains, so I think they focused on the chassis because I thought the 19 Mercedes was a better, like car around the corners as a chassis than the Ferrari or the Red
I
Bull.
think
But
I think Mercedes has always built good chassis, but I think people it gets overlooked, and people look at it and like, well, you've got the best power unit, but that's
Yeah.
not always been the case. And it's something that in 2014 they did the same thing. They said they let everyone assume that their performance was strictly about power unit,
Power
but their
unit.
chassis was probably the best chassis on the grid at that point in time.
yeah,
They've made chassis that pretty much rival Red Bulls,
Yep.
but everybody view it, their performance as simply being down to the power
So
unit. But when the
yeah,
power units became
yeah, wait, because you want to say that's the reason why they were dominant. Because when you, the question I always ask is this: even if it was a power unit, for example, is there a way you can separate the power unit from the car, for example? Because the argument I always see on Twitter is, oh, Mercedes had the best engine, that was why they were competitive. I'm like, where though the power unit is part of an F1 car. So if you are good in power unit, for example, which is actually a flawed argument in my opinion, then you can maximize that and then gain advantage from it.
I
If
mean,
other things are good,
it's similar to McLaren. I can't remember when McLaren was with Honda, everyone kept saying, "Oh, the McLaren chassis is one of the best on the grid. It just needs
yeah,
the right power unit." And I
yeah.
kept saying, "Look, the problem with that is you give it a Mercedes power unit, and then you realize that chassis is
Oh
actually
shit!
shit."
It's actually
You
shit.
know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So you can't make that assumption that because it performs well. it's the best, but the power unit is what's holding it back. They work as a unit. So if
Absolutely.
the and you saw the same thing with Williams. When Williams got the Mercedes power unit from 2014 to 2016, they were all right. But then once it becomes more of a chassis build, and that starts coming to play, you realize, yeah, they're not actually there. So they
Yeah.
were more reliant on the power unit.
Power unit.
But
Yeah.
Mercedes as a whole, remember, they're a power unit manufacturer, so they're everything is in house for them. So it's built as one package.
Absolutely.
So
My question for this year though is, it seemed like the new front wing seems like it took away from the high speed to kind of help Merc get the low speed, which that might be okay or helpful actually for Hungarian. But I'm just wondering if the W14 is built in such a way that you can't, like, for example, tire warm up. It's always been an issue. We got good tire wear in the race, but bad tire warm up in qualifying. So we're always like seventh or eighth in qualifying, and that makes it harder in the race. Is it flawed? Like, is the concept so flawed that you can't like make a gain in one area without losing in
but
another?
here's my question: was the lack of performance or lack thereof in Silverstone solely down to the front wing? Because prior to coming to Silverstone, it was the first race for the new Pirelli front tires, which they it's a new construction. It's been reinforced. I think it's now 1.1 kilos heavier than the
Heavier than the previous one. Yeah.
previous set. And there was reports that it was I think the guys from Formula Uno, the Italian guys, they did many articles leading up to this week to Silverstone saying the new front tire will offer more grip for cars for more grip. So the teams who had that was somewhat of how you say it, was a strength for them, they would actually be penalized by it because it then is going to exasperate the if that's the word is exasperate they
Yeah.
Yeah,
Make it
make it work.
worse. Yeah.
it's the lack of stability that Mercedes has with their rear end, because I think that's where their problem is. They don't have their rear end
Yeah.
grip
Unstable.
is not that good. So because the front end was so strong, it made the rear end for them much weaker now. So that whole combination made their problems even that worse. Because if you listen to Lewis, he said the McLarens in Silverstone were quicker in the high speed sectors, which was
Yeah.
the
Like
Maggots
downforce.
Vegas
Yeah. The
exactly,
back end and then
which
downforce.
Yeah.
so that's where they were losing out to the McLarens.
Have
And
you,
prior to Silverstone, they were good in the higher speed corner. So
honestly,
the
yeah.
whole thing
Yeah,
reversed.
but
But
yeah,
yeah,
the car too is built like if I to answer from this question too. The car is the DNA of the car is such that they have a good race car, but they can set up for quality too. I think there was an episode, an interview. I don't remember who. I think it was Andrew Chauvin or who did that interview, and then he said yes. Part of the characteristics of the car is that we designed the car to be a good race car, and then from there you can then maybe set up the car to perform well in quality, but not in terms of what they are right now, where you have to qualify, like you said, eighth or ninth position, and then on race that makes your race a little bit, harder. But then again, the tires changes for Silverstone could have played a factor. I don't know, but it will also be the same for every other team at the end of the day. But granted that maybe some teams that have good front end, and then you have a tire that comes in and necessitates what that would do to the rear of the car. Maybe Mercedes also suffered from that at the end of the day. But overall, like I said, Silverstone, Hungary would be a better track for them, low to medium speed corners, and then
but
the car,
even but even
in
in
theory,
but
performs
even in
better.
but Kingsley, even in Silverstone, were they that bad though?
You know,
Because this is the thing I don't get. People
yeah,
say Silverstone was a horrible weekend, but I don't actually think it was. Because if
yeah,
you look, because you're talking about,
No.
especially in qualifying,
mhm.
they were a tenth away from
2 tenths
P
from second, let's just say a tenth and a half from second
from
position.
from
Yeah, from
second,
the first row. Let's
and
just say first row.
you could
Yeah,
lose a tenth in one corner.
in one corner. You're
So
right. You're right.
you when you look at the actual gap, it was it really as bad as all people make it out to be.
Make it,
You know,
yeah,
the
I agree.
for me the problem for Mercedes is whilst they have a good car on a Sunday, it's the Saturday that's really messes up their
Yeah.
weekend because then they can't
They have to
they
cut.
can't
Imagine Lewis
utilize it.
having to overtake two, 3 cars from the start because
You
yeah,
end up
that's what,
stuck
yeah,
behind
that's only
Lando
push.
or Ocon or like one of those
Exactly.
guys, and that's where the race time
Because I
Yeah.
mean,
sucks.
granted, yeah, they probably would have still lost the race. But
Oh
imagine if
yeah,
they had
but they'll be
qualified.
closer to the front, right? Racing at the front
Exactly. If
than
imagine
having
if
to
they had qualified
yeah,
P2 and P3
yeah.
closer to Max, then people would have probably.
And I think that's where the like lack of traction and top speed still hurts because even if you start behind those guys, if you can come out of slow corners and a straight and be able to slipstream someone and pass them, maybe that helps. But we're always just missing those few
Yeah,
Ks
but
on
if
the
you're coming
straight,
out,
and then you spend
but if
25.
you're coming out of that last corner going onto the straight and you're 6 tenths behind,
It
I
does. It
mean,
doesn't.
it make
What is it? State tense, therefore, because let's be honest, Silverstone is becoming a notorious track to
it's the one
overtake.
of the worst tracks to race on.
Yes,
It's
so
not. You cannot
it's
overtake at
not. Yes,
Silverstone.
unless you have a time delta of it's close to a second. You don't. It's difficult to even overtake a
Well, unless you have
California, even if you have
or
DRS.
unless you have a Red Bull, which is pretty much efficient. But
Exactly.
again, but if you're talking about cars that are relatively matched on pace,
Close to each other.
Silverstone
That
is
would be
not. I've been arguing it for years now that Silverstone has become one of the worst tracks for racing. It
overtaking.
doesn't
Yeah,
give you there's the idea of overtaking. No, it doesn't give you that anymore
it
because
doesn't give you that.
apparently the track is what you're at full throttle, something like 65 to 70% of the
Yeah,
time.
70%,
The
55, 69.
next,
Yes.
I think the next track that does that, I think it's Monza.
Monza. Yes.
I was just gonna say the
So I
same
think
about
you're on
Monza.
your full throttle at Silverstone more than any other track with the exception of Monza.
Monza.
And
Yeah.
it does not, and
And
it
it's the corner type
exactly,
too.
and you need, and if you're gonna have overtaking, you
There are
need
no
bigger
braking
braking zones,
zones. There are no
and
braking
there's no
zones
the
for you to
braking
overtake.
zones are very small.
Yeah.
So Silverstone has become a difficult track for overtaking. So unless you can find that delta of where you at least half a second to a second a lap quicker, you're going
Yeah.
to struggle to
You're going
overtake
to
because
struggle to overtake.
if you look at George and what was it? Who's in front of him? Sainz? Or was it Charles? Charles.
Charles. Yeah.
George could keep up with
Charles.
Charles, but the moment he gets on one of those streets, even
It's
with
just putting up.
DRS, he's not closing the gap. You saw the same thing with Albon and Alonso. Alonso and I think it was Gasly behind him or Ocon. I can't, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't pass him, even with DRS. So Silverstone has become one of those tracks now where yes, the racing is somewhat good, but if you actually look at it and talk about it's become very difficult to do. Very difficult.
Yeah.
And we really don't see the tire drop off that we were used to. Like even Ferrari seems like the tire lasts longer than they
Where
used to. That was the thing that could make at
Did
least a
it actually
difference.
last longer? Because I mean, Charles was on medium and
he
what's his
pitted
name?
What
before
was the race
he
that they
pitted before
George was on soft and he pitted before George.
what was the race where they stayed on softs for like 20 or 30 laps in the first stint and the like
that was
they missed the
That
safety window. Was it
that was
Austria?
Austria. Was it Austria? No, the race before Austria. What was that?
the race before Austria was Canada.
Was it, yes, Canada. They
Was
used
it
a two
that?
stop. I think it was a single stop for them in Canada. They had to stay long on the
Yeah,
first
but
stint.
even in and Kingsley, remember I said it to
We
you.
had this conversation. Yeah,
Did they really
they were
solve
not
the tire
racing. They were
problems
basically in
because they
protection.
weren't
Yeah,
racing
they were
anybody
not
in
racing
Austria
anybody.
and they
Yes.
weren't racing anyone in Canada. They pretty much
Yeah,
held station
yeah,
because
that's true.
Sainz was definitely quicker than Charles, and I felt
In
like
Austria.
if they
Yeah,
had actually inverted the position and let Sainz at least try to see what he could do in closing the gap to Max, they didn't try. They just said we're holding. They pretty much said from the beginning of the race we're holding position. They did the
yeah,
same thing in Canada. They held position. They didn't race anybody. They found the position in the on the grid and they're
yeah.
like, okay, we're happy with this. We're gonna
Yeah,
hold this
follow
to
each
the
other
end.
home. Yeah,
But I mean, Silverstone, Charles was the first one to pit, and he was on mediums.
on medium. Yeah,
The mediums could have got that medium tire if had it not been for the VSC safety
safety
car. That
car.
medium
Yeah,
car tire could have gone probably at least lap 40
it
because
can
when you
get
look
up 30,
because when you
36
looked
to
at
39. That was the
yeah
estimate. Yeah,
because when you looked at Lewis and Max's time, they were still doing 32s.
32.
Granted,
Yeah,
yeah, granted, and I mean low 32s because
Low 32s, and they were
Lewis did a
doing. Nobody was
32-1
doing it in that old tires. Yeah.
before I think the lap before the VAC. Lewis did a 32-1 and Max did a 32-2. So they were
Yeah.
still, and it was
Yeah.
only those was it Sainz and Charles on the hard tires, and I think George as well, who came out on
George
the
too.
medium, were in the
Yes.
31s. So the medium tires were still who do somewhat
Performing.
competitive,
Yeah.
good
Lap
enough
times.
times. So they could have gone much longer, but for the Ferrari to pit that early in the race tells you then, okay, why would you pit that early? You basically gave a position, you gave away a position
And
to
both drivers at the same at the end of the day.
Yeah, but are we surprised that Ferrari messed up on
no.
I'm
strategy?
not surprised actually. I expected that.
Anybody who gets surprised by and if someone is still
Whatever Ferrari
surprised by
did,
Ferrari, they
yeah,
should get slapped.
it's okay.
We should,
The thing that I
yeah.
didn't get from the Silverstone race is why the soft didn't make that much of a difference for Lewis
It didn't make much of a
against
difference for
Lando.
Max because Max complained about the soft as well.
Yeah.
So maybe a warm
Well,
up
it's not just
issue for
warm up.
both of them.
Even at the beginning of the race, remember George was on the soft too, and he couldn't make it dent on Charles at the same time. So
But
I
there
think
wasn't. But the delta between the soft and the medium wasn't that great, was it?
that is actually what.
That's the that's
Who
the thing
said that?
that
I think
gets
it
me.
was in the debrief. It was a Mercedes debrief. The guy said
Yeah.
over the weekend they quickly found out that the time delta across the entire spectrum of the tires, was just minimum. It wasn't much really. I think that actually played out at the end of the day in the races, so that you have people who were on faster tires and they weren't making the kind of progress you would expect them to make at the end of the day. So it's a bit different.
I mean, Silverstone. I think that the people overblown the position, the performance in Silverstone simply because of where they qualified. But if
Yeah,
you
the
look,
qualified.
And
but if,
Yes,
everyone else
yes,
but
proved
if
yeah.
you
it.
look at the actual race pace, and they weren't, they were. I think they were. Was the McLaren really that quicker than them?
Yes, they were. They were
Were,
like two tenths quicker than them.
were they really 2 tenths quick?
Yes, they were two tenths. I
I'm a bit
checked the
skeptical.
data.
Maybe on that
I'm a
They
bit
were
specific
two
track.
tenths.
skeptical on. I'm a bit
No,
skeptical on that in some
I believe
ways.
they were two tenths quicker than Mercedes. They were quick two tenths quicker.
But if Lewis had gotten past Lando early in that after the safety start, he
Yeah.
probably would have held on to P2. I don't
Yes,
think
because it
Lando
would
would
be
have
difficult
gotten
to
it
overtake. Actually, that's just it. Even with this high-speed sector that they were really good. I mean, if McLaren, you can't even overtake there. You just get close enough, and then in the straight again, the other
because
driver just gets
McLaren were losing chunks of time going into slow corners like
the corners.
Stowe
Yeah, yeah. So
and
they
what
kind
it
of come
was
out of it.
and
The
the
traction out
last
of it was a bit
and
bad.
the
Yeah.
last two corners to end the lap. But I mean, it was it
If looking forward to the,
I'm just of the view. Yes, I think we all know this the position they're in, and the car is pretty much it is what it is. But the fact that there's P2 in the championship right now is a testament to the sort of team they have. Yeah, granted, other teams
they're
make
good at scoring
mistakes,
points.
but that's not their
That's the
problem, is
nature of
it?
the game. It's not Mercedes' problem. Yeah.
That's not their problem.
Yeah.
They put a car out there to score points, and they've
And they
consistently
pretty much getting it
scored points.
this weekend. Yeah.
I mean, if you,
And I
yeah,
think
go on.
the two drivers of Mercedes are more consistent than like drivers for any other team. So both your cars, barring like a crash or a failure of some kind, are gonna
In the
be
points.
up in the
I
Yeah, they
mean,
points.
have
they've
the
got,
The
best
problem
drivers
is
lineup.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've got the better driver lineup on the grid right now. It's not even questionable anymore.
yeah, the problem for me is when you let cars like a McLaren or an Alpine or like the Ferraris or the Aston qualify between you and
I,
Red Bull,
y-
and you don't have the race pace to overtake on track, then you kind of stuck.
Well,
That's why I'm thinking in Hungary, if we're quick enough, we have to make sure that the Saturday is the
yeah, but
day where we like get high up on the
you
grid.
can somewhat in Hungary. If you have the performance, you can overtake in Hungary, but because
no,
the straight,
In
it's a longer
Hungary,
straight.
no,
The,
in Hungary, it would be more difficult. It's a difficult track to overtake from. So if they qualify the way they did in say Silverstone, it would be pretty difficult.
You could
Yeah,
be a
you're in
pit stop
trouble.
behind
You're in trouble.
barely
I
So
don't
early.
know, but
no,
but
it
the thing
is.
is,
The track is.
Hungary the straight at the Hungaroring is longer than any straight at Silverstone.
Yes, that the problem with that straight is that it quickly closes up on you. So you have to be very good coming out of the last corner for you to
Yeah,
even
it's the
get.
last corner for me that's the
Yes, so
problem
if you don't
because you
come
get
out from there close enough, even
True.
in that long straight, it's still going to be difficult in the braking zone for you to. That driver can just simply go for that and then go
That's true.
inside and then break you and then still be able to turn in and all that stuff. It's difficult because from turn two to turn three, four, it's short, so you can't actually make good use of your DRS. At the end of the day, it's pretty much
Yeah,
useless.
it's hard to
I was
pass.
just gonna
It's
say
hard to
just
pass in Hungary. So,
Yeah, it is hard to pass in
uh,
Hungary.
But
so I
to-
mean,
but but
Kingsley, to
remember,
add to kind of what you were just saying, the issue with me with like Hungary or those kind of tracks is like if you think about the second to last corner in China, for example, where you brake hard and then you have to start back up from first gear. Hungary's last corner is not like that. Like you're in second or third with like partial
Mm-hmm.
throttle, so you never have that difference in
Interaction,
traction
yeah,
to make a difference on the
yeah.
yeah,
straight.
but
You're
you also
always
have to
like
remember,
half a second
Hungary is a
behind the
tire
guy in front.
track bunch
Oh
as
yeah, this
well.
is a tire killing track.
And if
Yes.
especially if the if Hungary is hot and there's a heat wave in Europe at the moment, so the likelihood is
And
if
Pirelli is coming with the softest of their compound. So
it can't what
yes,
Okay, that could
they're
make
in
coming with
sense.
the
Hungary.
softest of their compound. Yeah, if you're hungry, yeah, they're coming with the softest of their compound. So.
Oh shit,
Now, do we trust Mercedes to get like a right strategy for their drivers and pit stops that are under four
man!
seconds?
I'm not even worried. I'm
Yes,
not even. No, no,
yes,
I'm not
pit
even.
stop.
I
How
don't.
can you say that?
I'm
They've
not,
not done a
dude.
4 second pit stop.
Thanos,
I'm
why
not
do you
even.
hate
Look,
talking about the pit stops? You know, people have a point.
because you know what? Because you know what? Until it costs them something, why talk about it? I don't care. It hasn't cost.
We're
It
not,
Oh,
we're
hasn't
not
I
cost.
still
having, we're
I
remember
It
not
what
hasn't
happened in
having,
cost. It hasn't
we're not
cost them
2015.
a
having
position.
this conversation today.
I don't think you can wait until it costs you something. I
Why?
mean, that's a
Why?
bad.
I
Why?
have
That's
never seen
you
any
know.
team win a championship based on pit stop.
Exactly.
I will
Like,
be so
There's no reason
corrected
to
on that.
wait until it costs you
but
something.
Anna,
I mean,
In the
who was?
history
yeah.
of Formula One, nobody has won a championship based on top speed. I have never
No,
seen
of
it. So
course not. Of course
exactly.
not. But it's
So why
part
would I
of.
just build a fast car and then use that? If you have a fast car, I've had this conversation on Twitter with some people. Build a fast car and the pit stop becomes irrelevant. The reason why
I
we're
don't
arguing,
disagree with you,
yeah,
but
the
it's
reason why we're
easier to
arguing
do
about
a
pit stop
faster
is
pit
because we don't
stop
have a
than to
fast
build
car.
a faster car. It is
Yes,
easier to do a faster pit stop than it is to build a fast car.
exactly.
Because
It's
if you
easier.
don't
That's
have
true.
a
That's
fast
true.
Yeah,
car,
Probably
you have to
but
that's true.
learn to
which, but
do
which
I
all
you?
the
agree.
other things.
Yeah, but look,
Mm.
everyone keeps talking about pit stop. Red Bull when Mercedes were winning and Red Bull were doing these world record pit stops. What were they winning? What did they win?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
That's
The pit
it's an
stops is not an
attitude.
issue
It's
for
an
me. I think
attitude
it's
issue.
like
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe a lot of persons are invested in that at the moment because
It's an
you want to find
attitude thing.
something to
Like
criticize with.
excellent.
Why you're not getting this right? At least this is should be easy to get right.
Yeah,
But I think,
it's not rocket science.
yeah, it's not
Well, it's
that.
not an
But
exact
You
science
know.
either.
exactly, it's not really
No,
exact.
of course not. But you have to like do like Ferrari improved from last year because I heard that Fred Vasseur made them do like shit ton of pit stop practice over the winter, and
Yeah,
they
Yeah,
did improve. If you remember, they were not that great last year.
yeah, the way.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and they
like
had
I
a lot
said,
of they
well,
had some issues.
genuinely, I don't care. Every week, people talk about pit stop, pit stop, pit stop. I'm like, look, what
no. I said that because I knew it would piss you
if it
off.
if
My
it if
my
it co- if it
huh?
costs
Why you really pitch that
if
out?
it costs them
High
a
five,
position in the
high five
if it
for
costs
me.
them a position in the race on that weekend, yeah, I'm gonna say yeah, the pit stop was shit. But if it didn't cost them anything on the race weekend, why am I talking about it?
Yes.
Why? What are we gaining from it? Because I
I
saw
think it
people
was
complain.
never a problem
Hold on,
before.
Fabrice. I saw people complaining about Silverstone. Oh, they did a 3.2 second stop for Lewis and a 3.9 second. Okay,
What did you?
okay. What did they lose?
Nothing.
George was already
No,
behind. The time was already behind. Was it Sainz or Charles? I can't remember. He was already behind one of the Ferraris
Right.
before he pitted. Lewis was behind. Lewis was behind the McLaren. If he had done a 5 second pit stop and then lost the position to Piastri, then I'd be pissed. Then you
Yeah,
can say
yeah.
yes,
On that safety car
the
too.
pit stop cost
Exactly.
him something. It didn't cost him any. So why are we talking about it?
no, the pit stop is really not a thing for me because I think Merck was known to like have those 3 second pit stops even
No,
when they were
when they
like
were
the leading
winning,
car. And
the average pit
yeah,
stop
no,
was
I know.
about 2.5, 2.7.
If you people forget that Mercedes in
No,
2015 or 16, they actually won the pit stop award. They were that fast. So it wasn't like they were
so
years.
That's actually more concerning to me. That's actually more concerning to me then why is your standard of excellence really high only in the race?
I
Your standard of excellence has to be high even when you're not winning.
Because
That's
because they
how
had a
I
quick
feel
car.
about it.
So I
yeah,
mean,
it really,
you have
yeah,
a
that's what
quick
I
car.
believe too.
The
Yeah,
only thing you need in
So you're
Formula
saying
One
even
is
when
just
they
have
were
a quicker
winning,
car
their
than
pit
everybody
stops were
else.
good.
Yeah,
Who? Well, no,
I mean,
but that's
but
not true.
but,
You
but
have a lot of the time. Of course, it's true. But what I'm saying is, you have people say very, very, very often, people who I trust and value their opinions, that yes, you have to have the good car, but the execution of everything else has to be perfect. As we
no,
all
it
know,
doesn't.
how many times
okay.
have we
So let
No,
me
it
seen
let me
doesn't.
ask you
in
this: in Qatar last year, Max had what, a 10-second pit stop
You still won the race.
and still won the race.
right? Well, that when you have a large
That's
advantage,
the point.
yes,
So
So
build a
that's the
fast
only
but
thing.
car.
That's the only
If
thing.
you
That's the only
yes,
thing I
that's what
care
we're
about.
arguing. If you build a fast car,
but
your pit stop becomes
it's very
irrelevant.
rare that you're going to have an advantage that big. It's not a frequent occurrence,
Yeah,
you know.
it's, I agree with that. But in the grand scheme of things, I think the pit stop is just a boogeyman. We'll have to flux something just to tell Mercedes you're not doing well, and then pit stop became the idea to
I
actually
mean,
do.
yeah. I mean, no one's gonna be happy until Mercedes starts winning. So if they have a good race weekend, they'll think, okay, let's look at the pit stop. Also, it's like people are so
Yeah,
key.
there is something to criticize.
Yeah,
Yes, we have to
they're
criticize.
so target they're so keyed in on pit stop. It's like it's constant.
Yeah,
I
but
don't want.
because
I
that
don't
would be
care.
easier to fix. Like I
No,
Yeah,
it's
said,
it's
not.
the
people are
easier
upset
stuff.
and they
I
know
agree
that
with
you
you.
can't
How
fix
is
the
it easier to
car.
fix?
That would be something
How
Yeah,
is
to
it
pit
easier
fix.
stop
to fix?
because it's not you don't require
It's easier
engineering
to fix
skills
than the
to do so.
So
car.
That's
no, but how is it easier to fix?
yeah, you train hard for it
Easier than the car.
normal
No,
It's easier
no,
to
but
fix than the
how?
car.
No, but how is it easier to fix?
than say building a fast car. Yes, I would believe
As
the
that.
game
compared
that
to
you
Because
I
fixing
would
the
think I
car.
would
because
think changing tires would be easier to do than building a fast car.
but changing the tire requires a whole lot of things. It's not just rack up and you change your tires and that's it. It also
No, no,
requires on
no.
the
It's the
driver
practice.
I
It's
as
the
didn't
well.
say
practice.
it's
It's the
simple.
practice
No,
I
makes
didn't say it's
perfection thing. I
yeah,
was
simple.
having this conversation
but
with
we're
Diddy, and we
assuming,
were talking about.
now we're going to assume that they don't practice pit stops.
No, no, no.
no, I'm
Here's the
sure they do.
conversation I had with somebody that part of it has to do with muscle memory. For example, if you look at Red Bull,
Hmm.
in those years, you could see they were doing. You do that consistently, that you become perfect in it. I remember there was one
Yeah.
video I watched. It was the Red Bull engineer who said it wasn't just consistent once, do the sub 2 seconds pit stop. It is doing it consistently such that it becomes repetitive for you. So something
Hmm.
it's not just we do it once in a while, we get a sub 2 seconds. No, every time we do it, that is what we're aiming for. I think over time it just becomes a culture that permeates, and yeah,
Exactly.
it's the same thing here.
Exactly.
I think that's true, basically.
Look,
But
Mercedes,
for me, I don't think
My
that's why Mercedes is not winning. I just think, in the grand scheme of things, if you have a good car, you will win races. So
yeah, just give them a good car. I don't really give a shit about pit stop, to be honest. I just want a
I was
quick
gonna
car
say
fixes every
if your
problem.
car is a tenth or two quicker than the other guy, you'll make up that extra second
But
in the
then that's
pit
a different
stop
story.
quickly.
That's
But
a different story.
that's
Well,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
different story. Then then pit stop becomes a major a major concern. But
Between
when did a pit
especially
stop?
between teammates, for example,
How
if you
many
have teammates
races?
that are closely matched,
How many
and then one has a slower pit stop, then you can argue, okay, it's affected the other driver's race. But
how many
for a
races
team,
did Red Bull win with all of these quick pit stops?
the
Not
road, I
much.
can't. There was no
I
race.
mean, right now they're winning all of
Yeah,
them.
and they can do 5 second pits, 10 second pit stop and still win races. So you know,
I think I'm just clinging on like
I don't
if
know
we
why you
like
don't
say
respect the mindset idea though.
mindset.
Why don't you
What
I think
respect
say
the
mindset?
like
mindset
Zenvort or
idea?
something like last year where if you
A
get
winning
a pit
mindset.
stop that's
But
a
Zandvoort
second
last year
quicker,
wasn't a pit
maybe
stop issue.
No, it
A
wasn't.
solo pit stop issue.
It wasn't a pit stop issue. No.
Zandvoort last year was
Strategy issue,
Mercedes
right? Yeah.
ceded to George, despite saying the lead driver gets calls on pit stop and they would never at any point um,
Put them on
put them
actually.
alternative strategies.
in
Yeah.
a counter strategy. So they should have said to George, no, we're not pitting. And the fact that they gave in to him, they left Lewis
I pretty
exposed.
much think what happened. George had already dived into the pit lane. There was nothing they could do. That's what
No,
I
but
think.
they were going through the pit lane.
Yeah, okay, well,
Yeah,
and
they
then I
had
mean,
to go through
stop.
the
If
pit
a
lane.
driver comes to a speed bump and stopped,
But
would
then
have been able
if
to not change the
if
tires.
he had done no, if he had done that, he would have lost a whole lot more positions than he
Yeah,
did. So it was an agreed stop.
they had to. In a way, I think they probably learned from it because Lewis was basically exposed afterwards.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying. So
that,
it wasn't a
yeah,
pit. It wasn't a
yeah.
case of they had a slow pit stop or
But the
what
question
or not.
again you will ask is, had he not pit stopped, had they not pit stopped him, for example, would both of them have been vulnerable at the end of the day at the same time?
Vulnerable to who? The
I
only
think
person
it
that
would
they
have.
would have been vulnerable to is Max because
But
George finished
he
P
was
two.
worried about the Ferraris.
But
George was what?
Where did
George was.
Lewis finish?
I can't even remember how
Lewis
that
finished
was.
what, P four?
I think P
P
four
four.
Yeah,
behind.
P4. Yes, behind one of the Ferraris. Yes, I think so.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
but the argument what I'm saying is
What would have happened, in my opinion, would have been uh, George would have been able to hold on to one of the Ferrari, probably pass him, but Lewis to still maintain his position. So by him pitting,
Or George would have basically held Max up for a little bit to give Lewis at least a little
no, no,
breathing
no, there
room.
was no holding out. Nobody was going to hold Max up.
That's
No,
The
I
way
not.
they were
think Max would
bunched up
still
that way, nobody was holding Max up.
Yeah, but I mean, true. But then
because I don't think Merck was ever good at keeping used hard tires going when a car behind has like newer
who can
soft
do that?
tires. I don't know
No
why
one
we
can
No,
do that.
no,
No one
anybody
can.
can do that.
No one can
Yes,
do that. That's pretty much impossible.
impossible.
If you're no
but I've seen Merck try to do that a few times. Like
where
if you remember China 2018, I want to say they had a chance to pit, but they stayed out on hard tires, and Ricardo comes through on softer tires. It's not the first time that I see
oh
Merck
yeah,
trying to hold
yeah.
out with.
China 2018 was a bit of a. I don't understand why that they did that. I think they went for track position
Yeah, the gamble of transition.
because the Red Bulls gave up track position, so they went for track position.
But I think Ricardo was behind Lewis that
Yeah,
race, and that Merck just didn't pit Lewis,
You
and it's
don't you
like
don't
just
pit the
stick to
leading
fresh
car. For
tires.
example, in
but Lewis
Hungary,
wasn't leading the race.
Louis. No, he wasn't. When I mean leading, like the driver ahead of you, that was what I said. So, for
No, but I
example,
think I agree with Fabrice on this one. In China, that 2018, they should have pitted Lewis because he I from where did he qualify? He had they could have split the strategy because he had a big enough.
Yeah, because Bottas was first, but
Bottas had
Lewis was
already
just
missed.
in front of
Bottas when the
Ricardo.
safety car came out. Bottas had already missed
the window,
the
the
window.
pit stop, yeah.
He had already passed the pit. Lewis hadn't passed the pit yet. So they could have called him in and changed his tires, but they didn't. So in that regard, again, they cocked up on an opportunity that they could have utilized. And I mean, people raved
I
about that
just feel
race
like
for Daniel Ricciardo. And I remember, I'm thinking, prior to the safety car, that dude was ass in
He
the
was
race.
completely out.
yeah, he
He
was
was nowhere.
nowhere.
Yeah,
But
Max was the quicker driver
he was.
that day. No, but that's my issue with Merck right now. Even more than the pit stops, I think it's trying to read the strategy on the fly. Like they seem to sometimes get stuck in what they wanted to do and not change quick enough as the like race
yeah, but
No,
evolves.
how many opportunities
which
does
race are you
arises?
talking about now? Because if you for them that was probably the only strategy that was open to them to use. So if you have a lead car like Red Bull, you can basically play around with strategies because you're the lead car. But if you are Mercedes, you don't really have a lot of leeway to operate strategy wise. So I'm pressed to see which race would have changed the outcome if a different strategy had been at play at the end of the day. I don't see any.
Uh, uh, maybe Spain 2021 would have been different.
Spain 21, Spain last year. And
2021.
okay,
20,
2021. What
granted,
happened?
granted, the outcome was they still won the race, but I think they made it hard on themselves by
Beating Lewis?
doing the two stop.
No, it was just they
No?
saw that Lewis could get close to Mars, but when he comes out from that corner, it's always difficult to pass. So they played the hungry strategy again, and it was
But
effective.
no. What I said they could have done it differently. I believe Max had a slow stop, which would have given had they pitted Lewis on the same that same lap, he would have come back
Yeah, he
out
had
in
like
front. But
4 seconds.
they decided against it and went long.
Because Lewis was still reporting that his tires was good and they were not losing time delta to Mars. And if
But he did
peradventure they have
lose.
a safety, if they have a safety car, it will play to his advantage too. So I don't see why that strategy was because Mars has pitted, therefore let us pit. They just
No, but
it, there was
what
there
I'm
was a
saying
race.
is no. What
Yeah.
I'm saying, Max had a slow stop, so he lost time in
Yeah,
his pit
that's what I'm
stop.
saying. Even if that's my point, even if you lose, if you okay, say you pit Lewis in that lap, for example, or the plan for them was to go longer, and he still had the tires to do that because I remember the time delta between what Max was doing and what Lewis was still doing on his old tire. We're almost about the same thing. I don't see the need for them to just have a knee jerk reaction and then change strategy with that. And there was a race recently, I can't remember which race, where Max, the Red Bull did, no Red Bull, the Ferrari did a counter strategy, and people were thinking that Red Bull will react and do something else. They didn't. They just went with what they have planned already,
They
stuck with
did.
it.
They did that. You're talking Monza last year.
I think so. I can't remember the race. So they did what they were supposed to do, and then it paid off. So I don't think that was a
Yeah,
problem for
but
them. It was a problem for
no, Kings. Spain 2021. Lewis came up behind Max, and had Max not pitted, Lewis was going to pass him on that lap. Max pitted. He had a slow pit stop, and on that very same lap, I was thinking, call him in now, because if they call him in, he get the jump on Max. They didn't call him in. That's where I'm saying. That's where I'm saying they didn't change the strategy. They just went. The Kings of drop off. They went with what they
no. I
already
mean,
had planned. So if
well,
they said that because Lewis genuinely had the pace stop in Spain 2021, he was only behind because we know what happened at the start. But if they had
yes,
actually pitted him on the exact same lap, Max had the slow stop. He would have come back out ahead of Max, and then you'd be able to control the race his own
yeah.
pace
Yeah,
without
but
so
if they like what it well he actually won the race 1-2. I feel that if they has if
no 1-3.
yes, but the direction that they went with that race, I still believe it was the best because at whatever time he was going to pit, even if Max was ahead, he will come out with fresher tires and he will still be able to pass, which was exactly what they did, and it paid off. I don't know why, because
Well,
Max
did it?
pitted and had a longer pit stop.
No,
Therefore,
remember, no. I don't know if you. I think we have a different recollection of that race, Kingsley, because they basically gazumped Red Bull. Because if you remember, they didn't expect Mercedes to pit again, and then Lewis pitted, and when he pitted, remember what Max engineer said? Oh, we're gonna have another Hungary
Yeah, it's probably good.
2019 all over again.
yeah.
So they
Well, Red Bull kind of gave their thing away too when they told Max that it was going to be a long stint. And I think the fact that Lewis was that close behind him, he was like, okay, we can either stick behind him with fresher tires and get
Mm.
him, or we
because
have
Lewis,
the gap behind
but
to.
because Lewis was on fresh tires when he pitted the second time. Remembering his tires weren't that old, and he was pretty much catching Max. I think when he came in, he was about a second. I
It
think
was like,
about
Yeah, he was very
second
yeah,
close. He
behind.
was
5 or
very
7.
close because when they came out from the last corner, Lewis just dived into the pit lane and Max
Exactly.
was just in view
So
of him. Yeah.
but what I'm saying is if they could have avoided doing that if when Max and on the first round of stops, when Max had the slow stop, if they'd pitted Lewis on the exact same lap, he would have likely come back out of ahead of Max, and he would have been able to control his pace because he naturally had more pace than Max that weekend. So they
Yeah.
so so they so they didn't do that. They just went with, okay, this is what we have planned and this is what we're gonna do. So in some regards, I agree with Fabrice. Sometimes they're not reactive; they're rather just proactive. They just think, okay, this is what we have planned, so
But
we're
that's
not
that's
flexible with
basically
it.
every team on the grid.
No,
Yeah.
Merck seems to stick more to their like strategy than like other
Who?
guys, and it takes them a little while to. I mean, Ferrari is really bad, but Merck
Yeah,
sometimes they have a hard time.
yeah.
I mean, Red Bull when they weren't winning, they didn't really have much options. Their
There was no
strategy was
options, so they
always
can just pick.
always the most
Yeah.
obvious one. So I still don't get the hype about Ron Hannah Schmitz. The
The
strategy.
late, okay, their strategy. No, they have to
'Cause
praise
what
someone.
does she
I
do?
don't.
What does she do that requires everyone to put her on this pedestal as this strategy guru? Because if you go back to the prior years,
Anybody in that position will make the same strategies
she
because
exactly when you go back to
a
prior
car
years,
that
she
can
had no
do.
options because
Yeah,
they tended to be second most of the time. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna use the most obvious options available to you. So
yeah.
and how often did
We
that
are
pay
talking
off?
about a team that will tell Checo who's in point to pit so that they can take fastest lap from someone else. What strategy is that?
Well, hey, anyway,
Yeah,
I hope the car blow up
whatever
this
works for
weekend.
them.
That's all I
Hey,
want. I'm just.
I gotta ask for this weekend though. Last year, Merck seemed like they were like what? Do we want to say in qualifying or the quickest car in Hungary last year or second
I
fastest?
think I think overall, I think they were probably the second fastest
It was his second fastest, yeah.
because Max won from
But
10th.
if Yeah, well, like on the race pace, I don't think Lewis and Max was that different. So I think if Lewis qualified someone in the front two rows, that could have been a different
potentially.
that could have been a different race. I'm wondering how much of that is still left in the W14 for this
for this
race this
race.
weekend.
Well, I
I think
mean,
Red Bull problem last year was really cooling. They had a cooling issue. Was it cooling? Yeah, I think it was having a cooling issue. And then at the same time, they were getting their tires into the right windows. And for a track that they usually perform very well, it was unusual for them. I'm not thinking they might kind of made that mistake this year, but you never know. So maybe the track will probably suit the current Mercedes, the new front wings and everything they put in it. Maybe
I mean, we
FP1
can only hope
that
because if
direction.
it doesn't, we can only hope because if it doesn't, Twitter engineers, aerodynamicists, strategists, team bosses, and all of that, they're gonna come for them. You
I
know,
was um,
they're gonna come with
I
a.
was listening to Sam today.
They already are coming for them every weekend.
I was listening
It
to
gets
Sam
gets
earlier.
kind of boring listening to it every weekend. Like you guys know what the situation is. Why you keep acting like it's gonna miraculously change overnight? They're gonna just turn up next weekend and start winning races. It's not gonna happen.
It's
Just
not good.
Nah,
what
I'm waiting till
people are set,
next season to see something.
people set themselves up and then complain when it don't when what they set themselves up for doesn't happen.
But
It's because of what
you
Toto
can't
be
blame
saying
people for
sometimes,
having
though.
hope. Well, you can so you kind of give that to them. At least they have hope.
No, but Toto be hyping us
Where?
up, saying, "Oh, Silverstone will win.
But
Oh, Hungary is a
he
good
never
track for
said they
us."
were
It's
going to
like,
win at Silverstone.
No, he never
no,
said it. He was joking.
no. But when he says if there's a track,
No, the
oh, we
guy,
might win.
It was a
no, the
question. It
Like
was
to
a
commentator,
me, I've been
no,
question.
watching for
the
years.
interviewer asked him if I say there was a track, if I say there was a track you're going to win at this year, what would you say it would be? I think that was a question, and he went
Yeah.
Silverstone, and then laughed and walked off.
It
And
was
I'm like,
basically the next race, so he could pick that out of the bucket. If this was the first race of the year and he was asked that and he picks say Silverstone, you can argue okay, why Silverstone? Maybe they had hope there, but it was basically the next race here. So and he's been asked a question, he just said Silverstone, and then smiled and just went
I
on,
think people
and
over
everybody took that as
misread,
gospel.
yeah, and kind of like ran with it and kind of get themselves worked up and like, oh, you said you were going to win at Silver. No, they didn't. Like, how you expect them to win at Silverstone
No,
when they finished almost a minute behind Max in Austria the week before?
The work before. And that's the question I was. I told someone I was saying to somebody, look, if Toto actually believed he was going to win in Silverstone with that car against that Red Bull, I would think he's delusional
I
because it
wouldn't
was
think
not
he's
based. It was
delusional.
not based in
I think
reality
Susie
at
Wolf
all.
should have him committed. I would
Yeah,
have
because
said Susie should have him committed if he
yeah,
actually
exactly.
believed that.
Give him a. I think as you said it more better than I could have.
Because,
no. I realistically don't know what race will be fast enough to win on pace. It would have to be something crazy happening,
look, man,
like I don't
strange.
know, Max
Did
crashing
anyone
into a
ever
wall
think
and
the
check.
W14 would lose a race in 2014? They lost three.
But each one of the ones that they lost wasn't because of pace.
But
It
they
was
still
either
lost them, right?
because the brake failure
Exactly,
or crash
exactly.
It's still
or
lost, which is part of Formula
So
One.
my point is, yes, the Red Bull is pretty much unbeatable, but we don't know shit can happen, and they
At the
actually,
moment, yes.
you never know.
I mean Checo would have to be
But
fast
Checo's a
enough to be
bum. Why
close
we
to
keep
Max to
talking?
make it
Why we
happen.
talking about that dude? He's a bum. The guy's in the best car in the grid, and he's only been on the podium. Okay, how many? What? He's been on the
No, but what
podium
I'm
once in
saying,
the last five
2014 had
races.
Who's
Rosberg.
that?
Checo.
2014 had Rosberg quick enough to challenge Lewis. Like Checo's
Yeah, but
never
that's what I'm
gonna be
saying.
there.
Checo's a
So
bum. The dude's
No,
been
you
on.
can't. You
He's missed
can't
the
use
last
Checo
five
to say
Q3
he has to
sessions.
comment.
Missed the last five Q3 sessions, and I think he's only been on the podium once in the last five races. Has it?
No, you shouldn't be having that
do
kind
we
of
think Red
statistics on
Bull's
that
fucking
stage.
with him, or is he really that slow?
Red Bull's
What?
what?
Do we think like Red Bull's not helping him like they could, or is he
He
really
is
just
that
that slow?
slow.
Because
He is that slow.
I don't
Yes.
think he's. I don't think he's that slow. I
I
don't.
no, he's that slow currently. Maybe it could be Meta Block or something. I don't think he has an inferior car to Mars. He has the same car. Otherwise, you are busy. Red Bull will be committing sabotage if they give different cars to them.
no, but
So
I was gonna say on the car thing, like Red Bull could win the championship with Max, so they have no
Which is what
reason to
Max
change
said.
the car
Which is
to
what
suit
Max said.
Checo at
no,
all.
because here's why you have a reason to do that. Because if you are just fixing one car, how do you correlate? Because you don't know what it could do in the other car, for example. If you're just using one data point as your analysis, you are basically not doing it the right way as far as engineering is concerned. So The
Man,
incentive is for them to develop both cars equally. I just feel at this point in time, Checo is lost and like his mental block or something. I don't know. He's just completely zoned out of it, and that's on him. It's not on the team. I don't know what else the team will
Look,
do for him.
Checker is
also
not
you
built
gotta
for a front running team, and he's not
He's a
built to go
midfield
up against.
driver. I agree. Yeah,
He's not built to go up against.
great, maybe good drivers. I want to use
Not
great
good. We're
drivers.
not good.
and
Great
Great
drivers. I
drivers.
mean, I don't like the dude. I think he's a prick and he's a racist at the same time. But I'll never deny that Max is not a
No, I
talented
agree with
driver.
you. The guy has talent. He can drive.
I'll never deny that. But I just don't like him as a person.
well,
But outside of that, Checo is no competition. Checo would.
No, no, no,
I
he's
mean,
not.
Max could beat Checo with his eyes closed.
look at it this way too, though. On not just on pure pace, but like say Mercedes, right? They have Lewis, who's the world champ, and then they have George, who's their future driver. Ferrari has two guys that are, on times they could be kind of close to each other. Red Bull is like freely saying, like Horner is saying, Ricardo is looking for Checo's seat. So they already know Max is our guy, and then whoever else is next to him is like keep up the
But that's
points.
that's
So
basically
Checo,
been Red Bull MO.
That's always
That's
been
what
what
Red
the
they've
Bull.
fuck
always
is
done.
this?
Even with Vettel, it was Vettel
They
and
did the
Weber,
same.
and
Hey,
then
who just shared this fucking
What?
bullshit?
What's that? Who's that?
Y'all see this on the screen?
Who's that? Who's talking?
I don't know. It's Fabrice.
Fabrice, I'm saying, do you see this on the screen or is it
What?
just me?
Seeing what?
The post that was just shared.
What? I don't see
What's
anything.
that? I'm not saying anything.
Okay, might just be me then.
I
Yeah,
don't know. Dude, who the fuck just shared this? It's this Jake dude that I just let in the. I'm sure it's him.
Hey, come on now.
Yeah, I think it has to be that Jake.
Come on
It's
now.
that Jake dude I just let in here. Dude, like, what the fuck?
The fuck, man. You just ruined my morning.
who is Jake? Who is this
All
I
right,
Jake?
just,
so
I just,
back to
someone
the
requested to speak and I let him in, and that's what
Nah,
the dude put
no,
up
but
on.
back to the conversation. I was thinking, even if Red Bull is not doing anything against Checo, like we have Joss in the pit, yelling like, "Why are you doing this for Max?" We have, Helmut Marko, who's probably got, I don't know, he seems like he's fucking Max's racist grandfather. I don't think Checo ever even had
Yeah,
a
but
shot to
but but
get his
let's
voice heard in
okay,
that
Fabrice.
team.
Let's be real here. Red Bull can give Checo equal treatment as Max. He's not going to beat Max
he's
because
not going to
he
beat Max.
just does not have
He
the
doesn't have
talent
the
to
speed.
beat
No,
him. He's
he
not
doesn't
going
have
to
the
beat
talent.
him. He'll. It's like he'll have Kingsley again. It goes back to my argument where I always say the difference between the greats and the good is basically like 1%, 1 to 2%. And what you find is the greats can consistently find that 2%. The good, they'll find it occasionally. They go probably a 1 or 2 races where you see that they look good and then they fall off because
Before,
they can't maintain. That's
yep,
Perez. He
the
cannot. He doesn't have the
consistency.
stamina to do it week in week out to bring his A game every single. Max B game is better than Checo's A plus game.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
agree.
and Max is
So
scary
so it doesn't
consistent,
so
so
it doesn't
probably makes
matter.
it
It
even
doesn't
worse.
matter the idea of saying Perez is. They could give him the exact same. I mean, if you swap cars with him now, if you put Max in Checo's car, Max is still going to beat him.
It's the
I,
same
I,
car. It's
I,
not
even, I
different
even
car.
put it this way. This is how confident I am. I think if you put Max in the RB18, he's going to beat Perez in the RB19.
Yes, I
I
agree.
don't think Perez. That's how much I don't think
Perez
he's not.
doesn't.
He
He
doesn't
he
have the
can win.
pace.
He can win occasional races, yes. But when it comes to fighting for championship,
He's not going to
he's
win you
not
a
built
champ.
for it.
He's not going
He's
to
not.
win you a championship.
No,
So
he's
the
not
thing
built
is,
for it.
this is why they won't replace Perez at the moment because there's no one threatening them. So his
Yeah.
position in the team is
Yeah.
safe. Why would you replace him when pretty much Max himself saying, "Well, I can win the championship on my own." They
Okay.
don't
So
need Perez. The only thing they need Perez to do right now is finish P2 in the championship because that's the only thing Red Bull has never done. Had a
yeah,
1-2 finish in the
Well,
championship.
that's it.
And even
well,
P2 is
and
on the thread.
the
For P2 is on the thread. And
Oh
I'm telling you,
yes, it
how can
continues
you
like
be in a car like that and your P2 is on the thread?
ah, that's
well, even more importantly than like that P2 thing, I think what the reason that Checo is staying in that car is because he's never gonna trouble Max. Like they don't want the
But
drama that
but they're not gonna.
the
But
Rosberg
Red Bull again,
situation.
Fabrice. If you look at Red Bull historically, they're not gonna put two alpha males in the same team.
yeah.
Lewis in
Yeah.
2011 wanted to go to Red Bull. he was seen coming out of the Red Bull trailer home in Canada 2011. Ted reported on it, and Helmer pretty much said, yeah. Horner years later came out and said, yeah, we couldn't have him. We would have liked to have him, but we couldn't have him and Vettel in the same team.
Yeah, to
It would have
destabilize Vettel.
interrupted the balance of the whole thing. So they're not built to run two alpha males in the same team.
I mean, yeah, we saw 2018. That was a clear example of that. And that's when they had to pick if they're
Ricciardo
going to
isn't
be on
really
the
an
Max
alpha male,
side.
anyway, is he? He's just a court jester.
No, he's not, but he was fast enough to trouble
Yeah,
Max.
I mean,
and we
he
saw
did beat him in
kind of like
17
shitty.
and beat him in 17, didn't he? Yeah, beat him in 17. And
Yep.
he was leading him in 18 until he announced he was going to Renault, and then all hell broke loose. So
I think it was the Azerbaijan,
And-
it was the Baku Grand Prix that sealed the weekend for him. I think they pretty much they couldn't
And
even
then-
tell Max was a
and then they went and
qualifier.
crashed again in Hungary. Max
Hungary,
right
yeah.
into the side of him in Hungary. So it was kind of like, yeah. But Red Bull as a team, they run their team on the principle of we're going to have a 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I don't really like the 1 and 2
But I
idea.
don't begrudge them either. So
Exactly.
It works,
I mean,
it works
for them, but I don't really like that idea because I feel like it doesn't. It hides your main driver's ability. How good is he?
Yeah, against the best.
Because your first test is your teammate, right? That's
Absolutely.
the first test you have to pass. Is your teammate. If you're gonna feed him bombs, it's gonna beat them. It's no challenge for him.
Yeah.
Which is why I think Lewis. That's why Lewis and Prost. Lewis is good. Prost is right behind him in terms of when you look at teammates.
Their teammates.
Because they've had the hardest set of teammates. I saw someone put a tweet out the other day that said they weren't impressed with Max's performance because it's kind of like imagine if Lewis had the
Yeah, I saw
W11 and his teammate was Heikki Kovalainen.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing with Perez and Max right now.
That is how bad Perez is. Man.
It's just a mismatch. God. It doesn't work.
The guy won what, Saudi Arabia, and he came out swinging. I'm fighting for championship. Every time I saw that interview, I would just laugh. Like,
dude,
you really believe this dude?
He was 7 points away from P1 in the championship. Yeah. And he's now 99 points behind. So
the swing is
which race was that? Did he go into Miami? Yeah, he went into Miami 7 points away from the championship. Miami was so what we had Miami. How many? We
have Monaco, we have Spain, we have Canada.
I feel like it's been 4 races? Maybe?
No, can't be 4.
5?
Yeah, from Miami, we have Monaco, we have Spain, we have Canada, we have Australia, and then Great Britain. 5 races.
So in 5 races, he lost 92 points.
Yes, because we didn't go to Emilia,
points. In a car like that, he's supposed over the 5 races, if he's going to lose any points, it's supposed to be 7. He should be finishing P2. So over 5 races, he should lose 35 points.
Yes, 35
not
points.
92.
Yes. Not 90 something.
Hey, you know what's bad? Max is in the lead and he's winning, and he pits to go get the fastest lap point.
Dude, put it this way. This is how bad Perez is, right? Perez has one? I think he has one more podium than Lewis.
This season.
Yeah. It's a wrap for the boy. Where is he racing next year?
No, he still has a contract, so he's still there. That's not going anywhere.
No, Perez, they're not getting rid of Perez. Perez is safe. His seat is safe.
But I think his seat will be under threat by 2025 when his contract is up.
No, his seat's going to be under threat next year because once the Mercedes, mark my word, what is it? It's July. What date is it? It's July
20th.
July the 20th. It's exactly 7:42 p.m. GMT. The Mercedes W15 will be a championship challenger next year. Mark my word.
Okay.
If it's not, I didn't say it. But if it is, remember.
Well, the good news is that the space is being recorded. So
I'm not going to say shit until preseason testing.
Sorry, man. I have faith in my team, man. My team will come. I'm not even worried about that.
I would fabric on this. I will wait till the winter testing and then see what.
If they really learn from
no
22,
I have faith in them. My faith is faith with verification.
In James we trust. In James we trust.
All right, Thanos, you can carry the in faith with trust. I'll have the quiet, kind of like
Yeah,
You
optimism,
forget?
but
yeah.
Are you
still,
forgetting? Are
still
you forgetting?
questionable.
I have the Infinity Stones. I can see in the future. Hold
And
on,
you
stick
didn't
a.
see the W13 coming? What?
Yeah, I
Hey,
did,
if you
but
can see in the future, we winning this year or
I
what?
did, but I, I was, they say I shouldn't say anything, so I
Ah,
can't
okay,
really,
okay, okay.
because if I say anything, I might mess up the timeline
You
and
the
all of that.
timeline.
So I
Oh,
don't,
okay. So,
I don't want to
you-
branch off another
Brother,
timeline
it's
in the
been a while.
multiverse.
We need that.
All
what
right,
universe?
all right, hold on. Incognito, what's up?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
And clear.
Just a quick one. What's your thoughts on qualifying the new format and how do you think Mercedes will do?
Sorry, I didn't get you because
Yeah,
you.
he was. I think he was saying the quality format where you have to use. I think the tires now,
Oh, you have
like
to use hard in
the
Q1,
hard, the medium, and
Q1.
the soft, and then for the
Um,
everybody's pretty much in the same boat. That's the
yeah.
only good part. So, which means if Mercedes is using the Haas is going to use the hard, Red Bull's going to use the hard. So everybody will. For me,
And they
that's what I
tend to
think.
run. They tend to run better on the harder compounds than they do the softer
No, it's
ones.
not the
So
race now; it's the quality. So, how do you generate heat into them? I think that's the question he was asking.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
Yeah,
gonna be
that's
but
the
the
then
only
issue.
problem.
the thing with the hard is you can do multiple laps on it, so you
Yeah, good.
can.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then again, it's bottom five, for example, for Q1. So you
And
expect
you also
Mercedes
said
to,
it's a softer range. It's a softer
yeah,
range
software
within
range
the
for the
compound,
yeah,
so
the
it's
compound.
not the hard. The hard
Hard,
here,
hard per se. No, it's not.
yeah, it's probably would be like
It's
a
soft tire
mid.
somewhere in a race track somewhere in this.
So hard here would probably be like a medium. No, no. Probably
Yeah, it
like
will
a
be probably
soft,
medium
probably
in.
spin or something like that. So
Yes, yes.
it's the software range in the compound. So we never know. But
I,
you know,
So,
I think Merck will be all right.
I
isn't
think
this a
my problem for the weekend will be how do they set it up for it because they're going to be having two tire legs than they were having before. So they're having 11 sets for the weekends, and you're going to return some of them after free practice, I think. So if you're having 11 sets, like so, I think it was what 4-4-3-3-4 in terms of the number. Yes, 3-3-4, something like that. So how do you
isn't
use
it
them in
four
practice, for
hards?
example?
Isn't it four
No,
hards?
four soft. You're getting four soft. I think that was
So I
the
think
soft was four.
you probably
Five.
find people will use three sets of softs. Then they probably go three sets of softs, one medium,
Okay.
or probably two softs, one
No,
medium,
I
and
don't know
one
if that.
hard.
I don't know if you have you can choose from it. I think it's hard, soft. So the soft
No,
is
I mean, in practice sessions,
okay. Price sections. Okay.
you
Oh
might
yes,
see them
yes.
run. You might see them run. Use two mediums,
No, you can't
two
because you
softs.
can't even use the soft. The soft is only for qualifying. So you can actually use the soft on the race because that track would not even allow you to use the soft for race.
No, I don't get you. Well, I mean, I'm talking about practice sessions. So because you want to make sure you have enough tires going into the qualifying, right?
Yeah. So here's what I'm saying.
And for the race.
Yes, for
So
the race,
if you have
for
four
quali,
sets
you're
of
always
hard,
using soft for Q3, for example.
yeah. But if you have
You can only use.
if you have four sets of hard, you probably want to use two hards in practice, and probably
No, I think one would do. That's what I think. Okay, maybe two. Yeah, you're right. Probably four. But here's
yeah.
what I think will happen because the soft is only going to be useful for Q3. You must well not just use one to test how your car is and then drop it. Then you're going to use hard to do most of
But the
your
soft tires was
everything.
used last year in the race.
And this particular, I don't think anybody's with the temperature they have right now.
If
I don't
it's
see who's going to be using at least the top teams. I don't think anyone's going to be using this soft for this race. Otherwise, you're pretty much just destroying your strategy because it's not going to last
yeah, if these tires are softer than last year, then you want to keep the harder
for
compounds
the
for the
race. Yes, it's
race.
going to be medium to hard and hard for the race. So the soft is basically going to be for quali, which is Q3. So you can then see why they will use more soft in practice than say
Yeah. So
anywhere else.
that's what I was trying to say. You're
Yeah.
going to find they use more softs in practice, and
Yes.
probably two sets of medium. Because if it's was it 4-4-3? But
Yeah.
what I
Whatever
saw,
the number, I think the soft is more than the
I
rest.
think
Yeah.
Denny tweeted it, so I'm gonna have to find it and see if I can see how
Okay.
in what. But more likely they probably use if it's three hard they have, you probably see them use one hard tire
Yeah.
in one of the practice sessions. Probably in practice two,
FP2. Yes, two
FP
is
two.
what basically
They'll
tells
use
you
the
about the
hard
yeah.
tires.
Yeah.
So in practice one they probably just go two softs.
Too soft. Yeah.
And in
Soft.
practice three they probably use a medium.
Yeah.
Practice 2, they go medium hard,
hard.
and then for practice 3, they probably
Use medium still,
they
because
probably use,
medium, you're always using medium for Q2, for example.
yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, like you said, to answer your question, incognito. I mean, it's going to be the same for everybody.
yep,
So
pretty much.
it's not a situation whereby they're going to find themselves or someone switching to a different tire. So they're just going to have to make sure that they get the tire to work. And given it's the harder compound, that means they
And
just have to
the
do more
temperature is
laps.
hot. The weather is hot.
More, yeah, because it's what I saw the temps in Europe was at one point something like 42. Like what,
Whoa, that is hot.
dude?
That is
That
hot, hot.
that's too hot for me. And I'm black.
Yeah, that is hot. Yeah.
That's too hot for me, and I'm black, and I generally can't even do 30 degrees in Europe. Feels like 100 degrees somewhere
Yeah,
else.
it's
Because I'm
hot.
in Jamaica and it's like 33 degrees, and I don't feel that hot.
You don't feel it,
But
yeah.
when I'm here and it's 30, I feel like I want to die.
It's an oven. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, but hope that answers your question, incognito. If you have more, you can go ahead and ask. Anthony, what's up, man? Boy, we see.
Now he's
Yeah,
gonna come. We
nah, man.
finally we
Yeah,
finally
you're
got
funny.
Declan
How's it
Rice,
going?
so
How's it going,
Oh,
everyone?
he sounds lively. What happened?
we got Declan Rice. Rice is now
I just had an exam today and I
Oh,
passed.
congrats, man.
Got
Hey,
my new job,
Oh,
so
congratulations.
I'm happy with
Another.
that. Cheers,
What's
cheers,
your new job?
cheers.
He's
I'd
a
rather
baby
not
that
say.
he has a new baby. That's a full-time job. What are you asking him for?
Not just that, but I'd rather not say for legal purposes. But
For
anyway,
legal purposes.
um,
mind your business.
yeah. But anyway, enough about that. Very
Interested.
interesting to see. You're funny. I see that Mercedes have cut a flap from their wings. I don't know if that's a modification that they're trying this weekend to give them
Which
more
wing?
down. Their rear wing.
There was the
Oh,
yeah, there was a cut in the real wing. Yeah.
Yeah, they've cut the rear wing, so I think that gives them more downforce around the
I mean,
corners.
it's the same wing they used at the start. Wasn't that the wing they used in the start of the season?
No,
No,
In
no, the
no,
cut. There was a
it's
cut to it. It's different from the
yeah, but I
it's
mean
different.
the overall wing
the
itself.
overall. Yes, of course, the
They
overall.
just
Yes,
changed
it's that kind of downfall. Yes.
the end plate profile, which they've pretty much been
Not
doing.
not necessarily, because I think they've from what Bryson was saying, there's a picture and the wing, I think it generates more downforce around the corners. If I find a picture, I'll bring it up. But yeah, it's kind of different to. Well, it possibly is the same wing, or they've added or taken away a couple of stuff from it. But it looks. We'll see how that plays out. I see the other teams like Ferrari, Aston Martin. They brought another wing to this track. Kind of now seeing that Red Bull, like, for a team who's been punished, this punishment that they had with a cost cap. They're bringing parts, and this new side pod that they're bringing in supposed to give them. They're supposed to be 2 tenths faster. I'm like,
Yeah, I was listening to Sam earlier, and he said that the design that Red Bull is bringing to the parts that they're bringing to this race, it was cleverly chosen because they don't have to run them in wind tunnels and CFD. So so
yeah,
that means that, for example, what we were doing was basically to cover the cooling system. Basically, that's what the major work was in.
yeah,
So you don't really need the CFDs or whatever to do that kind of testing to bring them to the track. So in a way, that was an application for them. So even if they have a punishment for wind tunnel, this particular upgrades would not be in the wind tunnel in the first place. So it's kind of made on that one, basically.
I mean,
yeah.
so did anyone really expect them because they got a penalty they wouldn't be bringing upgrades to the car throughout the year?
No,
No, I
upgrades
per- so-
related to wind tunnel. Yes, you would be surprised if they were bringing wind tunnel upgrade. You'll be wondering where are they getting the wind tunnel time from if they had a punishment for wind tunnel. But
Yeah, but again, it's still. I don't think that really makes a difference. Yes, they've had a cut in their wind tunnel time. It's not. I mean, they only lost what 7. In actuality, it's not 10%. They lost like 7% of wind tunnel time. But because they had what 7%, 70%. 10%, so seven. So they didn't really lose much. I mean, it still doesn't change anything. They're still gonna do the development work. It just means that the amount of parts that they would normally test
Yeah,
is
the
basically
amount of
reduced. So it's
parts
a
they will bring that relates to aerodynamics will be a bit restricted because
No, I think they
you
just
have to
have to be more
run them.
selective. They just have to be more selective with the parts that they're gonna test now because they don't have
That
the amount of time to do it. So I mean, I think it's the same for any other teams who are within have restrictions. You can't just put everything in it because you don't have unlimited. It's not like a Williams where you have over 100% of the allowance, where then you
okay.
can throw pieces.
Is the suggestion now that if they didn't have, say, for example, the penalty, which I think is actually ridiculous because it's not really a penalty, that Red Bull wouldn't be testing components in the wind tunnel? I think, in a way, no, they would have been tested. So,
But they're still testing
in
components
as
in the
much
wind
as you don't
tunnel.
want to think, yeah, in as much as you don't want to think that it was a huge punishment, I think it factors into the type of upgrades that they were bringing
Yeah,
here.
it's still this. They still have parts in the wind tunnel. But what I'm just saying is because of the limited time they have now, they have to be selective with the
Selective,
ones
yeah.
that they're going to
Okay,
test.
okay, yeah, that's
But they
true.
still are. They still have parts in the wind tunnel. It's not like because they have the penalty. It means we can't put anything. They still have stuff in it. They just have to be more selective.
That's true. That's correct.
And and I'm wondering, did Mercedes issue George and Lewis some memo to talk about the penalty, non-penalty? Because both him and Lewis have said it this weekend. Saying that pretty much penalty wasn't really a penalty. Well, I mean, which
Well,
everybody knows.
it's facts though. You know what I'm saying. At the end of the day, you're looking at a team who's dominant for the past 2 coming on to 3 years,
Where
and
you get that from? Two
well,
years.
2 years. I wouldn't say two. Sorry,
No, we
two
can actually
years.
say
And
dominant is not the word
no,
for
but
3 years.
no, but
They still had a
all right.
better car in 2021. So
Yeah, but yeah, they've got a better car than last. They've got a better car than yours. So arguably one of the fastest car that they have, and it's right in terms of that penalty was not a penalty. Everyone in the flipping world
Yeah,
knows
pretty
that
much.
Red
That's
Bull.
widely
Yeah, exactly.
accepted.
It's they didn't they didn't get that penalty. What they call alleged punishment is a load of BS, and this is where again, as I was saying, that the president of Stefano De Marco, whatever the flipping hell his name is, he really needs to take a long hard look in himself to say, because you're just ruining the sport. A team's done an infringement, and
Yeah, but
it's
in
you
not
Stefano's
Stefano.
defense,
Stefano is not in charge of that. I
he
think
was
it's the
in
Formula One
and in his defense, he came in after Ross Brawn.
after. Yes, after the.
He wasn't part of the whole process. This was a Ross Brawn. Ross Brawn came out and told everybody, if you breach a cap, you're gonna lose your
And then ran
championships and you're
away.
gonna whatever it is. And he basically ran to the
but
hills. No one's seen or heard
speaking
from
on
him
that,
since.
No,
but
that's the
speaking
funny
on
thing. This
speak,
guy used to speak every other weekend, and all of a sudden he's just mute. You don't hear him say anything anymore.
but speaking on that point, allegedly there's a couple of teams have breached the
Yeah,
cost cap for last year,
I
so
think
I
it's
want to
Red Bull.
see.
And I tell you why.
Well,
And I tell you why. Because the practices that they
a Kings,
used in
yeah.
2021, it would pretty much
Yeah.
be the same practice. It's a carryover into 2022.
I don't think it's Red Bull.
Why
Here's
not?
why: because the way Stefano is singing, if that was Red Bull, they would not be. He would not be singing that way. Because they're basically saying it has to be a sporting punishment. It does. It's no longer financial.
Yeah,
It has to
but
be sport.
Kingsley,
What team
how is
did they
that?
specify
But
that
how is
in?
that different to when Ross Brawn said it? Because it was pretty much what Ross Brawn was preaching. It's the same thing he's saying now.
But no, my point is when Red Bull, when it was established that Red Bull broke the cost cap, nobody was talking about sporting. They were talking about financial thing. So if they're saying sporting now, guaranteed it's not Red Bull.
Yeah,
That is my own way of seeing it.
But Russ Braun said if anybody breached the cost cap, they should lose the
They'll
championship.
lose
They should do what this that yada yada call for
And then
bullshit.
someone broke the cost cap.
Yeah,
And then
but
what did they
but
do?
it's
They
the
were not
same.
talking about penalty.
Yeah,
They were
but
talking about financial penalty.
What Stefano is talking about here, it should be a sporting penalty. It's pretty much falls on the same lines of what Braun
If
said.
if
Because
if,
the
if
sport and we had this again. It seemed like I probably activated the time stone then, but we actually had this conversation, Kingsley, where we said the idea that it's not. It wasn't a sporting penalty then. Didn't make any sense to me because if you can, teams can equate performance to cost. A team can tell you, okay, a front wing costs 250,000. A
Right.
new front wing can give us 2/10
Two,
in
three tenths. Yes.
performance.
Yep.
If a front wing can give us 2/10 in performance and it costs two, then if you overspend by 500,000, that's pretty much a front wing.
A front
We can
wing.
say,
Yep.
well, okay,
Estimate.
that's a front wing. That's 2/10 in performance. So
Yep.
it's a sporting penalty. So
And,
that's
and,
what
not, and
I
not just
think. Look,
that, the financial penalty is not still taken out of the cost itself. It's taken out somewhere else. So even if you're going, even if you say, okay, it's financial penalty, why not take it away from the allocated amount for the development of the car?
and
No,
this thing,
it's
and
a separate money.
it's not like they're hard up for money. It's not like, oh, the 140 million, whatever it is, it's the only money they're spending.
Of
The
course not.
140 million is towards the running of the race team for the year in terms of all of the things that falls within the cap. But they're
Yeah.
still spending an additional 200 million outside of that on other things that don't fall within the cap.
Within the
People
car.
seem to think they only spend 140 million over the whole. There's no way they're going to spend 140 million
No.
over a team that has 1,500 people working for it, or it's probably reduced now.
But but what's funny? If this was a team like Mercedes, you see how fast they get the book thrown at them. But because obviously it's Red Bull, it's like, hi, it's Red Bull,
I think
we'll give them a
I think
pass.
it's Aston Martin,
No,
Aston Martin somewhere. They just
but Kingsley, what would Aston Martin have to gain by doing it twice, 2 seasons in a row?
I think they didn't break the cost cap before. It was administrative. What happened? They
All right,
filed it.
okay. All right, administrative, and if it is a split penny, what is going to happen
No,
to them? Like,
administratively, I
let's.
don't think there's. It was. I think it was
You know,
financial
Yeah,
penalty
no,
because you
no,
submitted late.
they filed the documents late, so they were fined
Yes.
25,000.
Yes.
Okay.
you guys know what you're not considering on this punishment thing from last year is the like financial side of it. The whole Netflix and like Liberty trying to market their business. It doesn't look good for them. And like Red Bull and Max, who's their champion, is actually getting punished for cheating. Like
They're
we
not
got
getting
to think
punished.
about that as like a business too. That it's not just the like sporting side that's looking to penalize. Like there might be someone else in the background looking at the money they're missing out on.
I
I
mean,
They can recruit. Red
let's
Bull
be
can
honest.
recruit
Let's be
that.
honest. A lot of people don't like the DTS series,
I've
but
never
it
watched
has
a
Nope.
single episode of it. I
yeah,
don't know.
but it has been a success for Liberty, marketing
Yeah,
success,
of course it
because
has.
they've generated a lot of revenue from it. The teams made money from it, so in that regard, it was a success. Granted, most people don't like it. I think I've probably watched the first season and I've not seen any thereafter because the first season just didn't make any sense to me. But in that regard, it's been a success for them. So in some ways, F1 is kind of booming, but I I don't know. In regards to I don't know. I don't know.
It is a sport first before entertainment. So if you
No, it's a business first. It's a
well,
business first.
it's supposed to be the other way around. If
No,
it's yeah,
no,
it's
it's no. If the business model is not right, the sport won't succeed. So you have to get the business model right first.
including you. I mean, having to cheat to win championship, is that a business model
I
too?
mean, eh, no, that's a shitty business model per
Exactly.
se.
So if the sport is
But
good, you always say that. Then the entertainment part comes in, which is translated to a business model. Because you have to. I don't know. There's no other sport. Granted, maybe Formula One is different from every other sport. I don't think there are sports you can actually do this. We see cycling, for example, and it was somebody doped, and all of his titles were wiped off the face of the earth. It happened.
Armstrong,
We've seen it in athletics, for example, when you confirm that you doped and that title is taken away from you. Formula One is the only sport that you see rules are broken and then we'll
I
just hold
mean,
on like
Just
nothing
but
happened.
they
Yeah,
did disqualify Schumacher from an entire championship, didn't he?
yeah, of course.
So
But that was before the internet sensation where everyone get to see.
and also his was so blatant. I mean,
Yeah, but what
But
was more
this was
blatant
also
than
blatant
Abu Dhabi?
for Massey. What Massey did was blatant. There was nothing in the rule book
What was more
that
blatant than
asked him to
Abu
do
we know
Dhabi?
anything.
this. We know
I
this.
mean,
yeah, but
what was more
you know,
blatant? But
yeah.
I mean, I don't. look, at the end of the day, whilst we as fans view it as a sport and whatnot, they have to make money out of it as well. So, because if there's no
Especially
money,
with money being spent.
the sport won't continue. So they go hand in hand.
I think
Yep.
I think what's going to be interesting now is I want to see how now obviously that Ricardo's back in AlphaTauri after the whole fiasco with the Breeze. I want to see how that plays out this weekend and going forward. If he
If he gets beat,
if he goes back his mojo,
if Yuki spanks him, oh god, oh,
Okay. Okay.
but you know the worst, you
What
know the
happened
worst.
if he spams Yuki?
and
No, but
it's
this is the
Yuki, isn't
thing.
it?
Then we just pretty much say,
I mean,
okay,
Yuki
the
isn't really
phrase
pulling
was
up trees, is he? So
exactly. But no, the point would
no,
be the phrase was really, really shit. That's it.
was
yeah, you could say that as
No,
well.
you
But
can't because
from what
this you're talking about a
yeah,
Formula Two champion, a Formula E champion. You can just say he's shit.
but
So that's my
yeah,
point.
but
what
if you listen to what's being said, De Vries wasn't really wanted in that team. They did not want
What
him in
of
that team.
want you cannot. It's possible not to be wanted, but that's not what affected your
Yeah, but
performance.
the car is shit.
Oh yeah, granted, but
The car is absolute rubbish.
Yuki is using it to get into the point. For
Yuki
example,
only has 2 points.
yeah, but that's the point.
And
It's the
Yuki's
point.
also
Two
been there
more
for how
than he
long?
did.
Exactly, and how long has Yuki been there?
Hey, but we can argue about how long a driver had been a team and all that. No, but I'm not just talking about getting the points now. At least you could. I'm speaking as someone who actually rooted for him because the guy looked the part. Let me just say that he handled the press very well. He could drive a Formula One car, and I'm like, okay, this guy's going to show up on day one and then blew everybody out of the
Yeah,
park.
because I
Pretty
mean,
much shortly.
he made me look like an absolute fool because
Exactly.
I
So
banked on him
I banked on him
beating
too. I
Yuki.
actually supported him. So the idea that he was
but
not
you know
supported, I don't think that's the reason why he didn't drive the car. If he was getting the maximum performance out of that car, I don't think he'll be fired 10 races into it. Maybe they would have still done it as Red Bull for you. That was the interview Lewis gave, and they were
I
asking him,
mean, the
oh, that's
fire
how
and the
Formula One works. And he said, no, that's how Red Bull works. And then he had to repeat
yeah,
it
and
twice after that.
yeah, but and it's true. That's how
That's
Red
how
Bull
Red Bull
works.
works.
Red Bull have a policy that if you're not up to scratch, they'll if you're not up to scratch, one they'll fire you or they send you back down to
No, I
Toro
was just
Rosso, and
trying to
if you're not
expose
doing
the
good,
the hypocrisy in the reporter's question. Like that's how Formula One is. No, no other team does that. It's Red Bull that does it.
no, yeah, but Lewis said it best. It's not Formula One.
um,
That's how
and
Red Bull
the
operate.
thing
That's
is,
how
Red
Red
Bull
Bull
can afford to do
operate.
that because you have 2 teams on the
You have
grid.
two teams. That's
So
true. Yes.
I think if it was
Yeah,
a normal situation when they didn't have a second team, they wouldn't be doing all of this anyway. Granted,
They can experiment with
granted
the
they
second.
probably brought through more junior drivers on into Formula One than any other team. But then again, it goes back to to what I previously said. Having a second team allows you to do that.
yeah, but then from next season they won't have that now, so
Why
it's
they
going to be
won't have
very
that?
tiny.
Why won't they have it?
They still own AlphaTauri.
Well, no, they're
Yeah,
going to be
it's still
rebranded,
But they
isn't
rebranded,
it?
still
They're
own the
not going to be
team.
Alpha
They still
Tauri.
got
but
to
it's
own the
still
Just
team.
a
their team.
name change.
It's just a name change, like
It's
how they
just a name
change
change.
it from Minardi to Toro Rosso, from Toro
Yep.
Rosso to AlphaTauri.
AlphaTauri. It doesn't
So
change
it's
anything.
just a
If you
It's a branding thing
honest,
just to get more money. It's simple as that.
if you tell me Helmut Marko can fire a AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso driver, whatever you want to call it, you can't have me believe that he's not running
He
that
no.
is
team.
He
running
is
that
running
thing.
the team.
What's this guy's name? This
Frank
Toast or
Stott is
whatever
the
his name
only
is.
team principal on the grid that has no power over his
He
team.
has no power. Absolutely. It's just there. It's a figurehead.
So then, like, why do people act so stupid when we're like, oh, I mean, it's all conspiracy to say, but like, who's to say? I mean, we saw Yuki racing Lewis in 21 harder than anyone. Gasly, the only reason he didn't do anything was because I think he's buddies with Lewis. But that's basically
Yeah,
Red Bull
but
having
you
a
know
full
what? I
car
don't
behind
even have a problem with that.
No, every
He's a
driver
racing
wants to
driver.
measure
I
themselves
mean,
against the best. Yeah, I
if
agree.
if he races Lewis hard, he races Lewis hard. I don't
That's
really
fair
give a
game.
shit.
That's fair game. Yeah,
We're not
I wouldn't
begging
expect
anybody
anything less than.
to go easy on us.
Yep.
I don't
No,
want no
that's
one to
fine.
go
But I'm
easy
saying,
on Lewis. I want you to give him the hardest fucking time in the world because I know
Yeah,
no,
but you
that I'm fine with.
he's
What I'm
built
saying is,
different. He's
it's
built
not
to deal
crazy
with
to
all of
think
that
that they
shit.
put
So
that much
I'm not
effort
even
into
bothered.
Mm,
What?
yeah, like this last weekend was just like you saw how, as I was saying before, with this thing with Lando and Max Verstappen, and people were saying I was trying rubbish.
What did you say?
No, I said that when it comes to Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, Lando doesn't put up a fight with him, but when it comes to Lewis,
I'm
No,
not.
I think
I mean, are you
yeah.
gonna fight a car that's pretty much quicker than yours?
You don't. You have
yeah,
to look
yeah,
for
I know.
who you're actually racing against, and then fight that.
He was
He
never
was
in a
never
Yeah,
able
but
racing
to race
mess.
yeah,
Mars, for example.
but hold on, but you might as well say that all the other teams should just lie down and let just match, just like give it to them. You know what I'm saying in that
That is
aspect,
what pretty
like.
much every other team does when it comes to Red Bull of mass. Nobody fights mass. You just know it's not your battle, and then you move on to which one is your battle.
Nobody.
I
Mm,
don't
I'm
think
not. Look, I don't think I don't really give a shit. You know what I mean? They want to make life easy for Max. Well, make life easy. I don't really. It tells you he's not built. He's built like wet wipes because you have to baby feed. You have to feed him Gerber all the time because if you give him hard food, he's gonna cry. So I don't really care.
it's
Piastri
gonna
actually
be.
raced him to an extent last week. In Silverstone, for
It's
example, it wasn't bad.
what's gonna be very interesting this weekend is to see how we perform on this track. If we perform better than better than we've done going forward, it's gonna be very telling to see. Okay, that
Perform better
some teams are.
in comparison to what? Because last year they had a 2-3. Are you referring in comparison to last year?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I want to see, how competitive they are. Last weekend it was, I would say,
Was there a race last
lock off.
weekend?
No,
No, not
Oh,
last
you
weekend.
know,
okay.
yeah.
The weekend
Yeah.
before, in terms of the lock off the safety car, where
Is it luck?
we managed
I
to.
mean, it's part
Yeah,
of the sport, isn't it?
Yeah, but
it's
it's
part of
part
this.
of the sport, but it's
No,
still
but
luck. Yeah, you're right.
no,
We've had
no,
a
it's still a
safety
lot
car at
because
Silverstone pretty much every year going back
It's
yeah,
to
in,
but
I don't even know
it's
when.
the luck is you don't know when it's going to show up. That's the point.
exactly, and that was a lot because let's be honest, last season Lewis didn't get the luck of the run when it came to the safety car. That was George. So
Was it
now
just last
Lewis got
season? I
his
La-
think every
time.
part of the season too. He was always out.
No,
I
last
know. Yeah.
season,
yeah,
bro.
last season, yeah.
Last
That's what I'm
season,
saying. Last season,
his luck
George
stopped.
had the
Yeah.
luck in terms of the safety car, and obviously we got it
We
at
have it now,
the
so
British. Yeah, we have it now, but I just want to see how compare because yes, we can say that McLaren have made some kind of steps going forward because they understand their car, they know their car, they've got more experience in that department than we do have with our car. So I want to see because of this track has got so much straights and
Straights?
it's a no, it
straights and
hasn't. It
No,
has
well,
one
yeah,
straight. It's pretty
it
much
was
a
one
go
all
kart
right,
straight.
track.
one
The rest
straight.
are
All
corner.
right, it's a completely different circuit to
Silverstone.
than Silverstone. So I want to see with this new front wing that we have and what changes they've done in terms of the rear wing, how competitive we are this weekend. Because listening to Lewis's comments, Lewis was pretty pissed to say we need to have a conversation about the
I
direction
have a
for next
problem with
Have
that
season.
you
statement from
have you
Lewis.
listened to him today?
Is it?
No, no.
So
I
you
have a
have
problem.
supporting
Hold on, hold
Listen,
on, hold on,
take
hold
it.
on, hold on, Anthony, to interject. I have a problem with that
man.
statement from Lewis, and I pointed this out to you, Kingsley,
Yeah.
because prior to him saying to that statement a week, I think it was a week before, he did an interview where he said basically they've already sat down, they've had the meetings, they sat down, they know where they want to go. He's discussed with the team what he needs, what he doesn't need, yada. And then a week later, he's going to come out and saying, "Oh, we need to have a serious conversation." Like, dude, you pretty much said that you already had that conversation already. The team's already admitted you all have had that conversation. Why it gave the impression like they've not actually
They've not
spoken.
spoken. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I found that statement kind of bit like, dude, you kind of you're
You're
going off.
getting in the way of your
You're
own
doing a bit
thing.
of you're doing a bit of total wolf. You're kind of contradicting
Well,
here and there.
from the top.
Yeah, but I think he's looked at how from. This is just
He
my
looked at how the
own.
McLaren performed and
Oh,
thought,
As
no,
I,
yeah,
as
in
I,
but
his
as,
defense,
as,
he was not the only one. So I remember Toto Wolf
yeah,
after the
exactly.
race
Yeah,
saying, "Look,
but
another team has actually done something with the same thing, and because
and what did Toto
exactly.
say? He then said that's actually encouraging for us
yes,
because
for
it tells us there's more time out, there's more performance out there
out
to
of
be
this,
gained.
yes, for them
So
again,
for
yes.
that,
Yeah,
but
but
and and this
they
is why
haven't brought. This is the
I
thing,
just
though.
find it like you guys, you've already established, pretty much come out. You've set the framework. You've said, look, this is what we're doing. this is our plan, and this is what we're
Yeah,
working towards. Why keep saying other things when
Yeah,
someone
true.
does
Yeah,
something?
I agree with you.
You already know it's going to be a fluctuation in our teams in terms of performance amongst the teams. You already know what you're doing, so don't worry about okay, McLaren gained a second. You know why McLaren gained a second. You know why
yeah,
you have
because they
not
brought
gained
a
a
big
second. Just
package.
do your shit and just
But that's the thing though. You look at it to say, okay, they've got a year head. They've got like almost a year. They've got a year head start, pretty much or more, on them. The updates that LeBron has made and improvements. Yes, the upgrades that we've got, we have made a trajectory going forward in terms of us being a bit more competitive going forward. But I just said to like Kingsley put up a post the other day regarding what Toto Wolff, and I said, you see, Toto Wolff, he talks too much. I don't listen to him in terms of what he comes out with because Toto just chats shit. Every minute is this, is that about regarding the car's performance, of
But what
where
he
we
said in
were
that particular
qualifying.
statement was not wrong. Actually, I actually was on his side on that one. I think the
No,
only thing I was
but this is
criticizing
the
on it was
thing. Yeah, but Toto always comes up with this and that, and I'm just
so
like,
who's
look, at the
supposed
end
to
of
do
the
the
day,
talking?
exactly that's the question I was going to ask.
Uh, you can do the talking, but I just think Toto he goes OTT
Does
sometimes.
he?
Like,
I
Yeah,
mean,
I know
sometimes he
bro,
sometimes he
contradicts
talks.
himself,
Sometimes he yes.
yeah,
Sometimes he
but does
says
he
exactly,
go
things and
over
then
the
he
top?
contradicts himself.
and that's the thing. That is the thing in terms of yes, you're right, Finesse. He does contradict himself, but we're gonna bring this up. We're gonna bring the upgrade. Nah, we're not bringing any upgrades. Like I think this is the second race now that. Well, they haven't brought any upgrades minus the one that they had for Silverstone. So let's hope this works. James Allison is now saying that yes, we'll be bringing updates going forward. So I'm like, so what the fuck are the updates? If James
Maybe
Allison,
because they're not ready to go yet.
Yeah, to the car.
So
yeah,
because
I
they said
know,
they're gonna
but
bring upgrade, you expect
this is
them
what
to
I'm
bring them. That's not how it works. Come on, man.
no, but if it's
No.
small, if I'm not talking about no big improvements, if it's small improvements on the car
But
going forward, then
but here's the
okay.
thing: you only view upgrades as things that you can see.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Not just things
Yeah,
like
it's
if it's
things.
things that
No,
I
you
can't,
can
if
only
it's things
view.
that I
No,
can't
we
see,
as fans can
then I
only
can.
view upgrades as based
The
on
things that
things
are
that we
visible,
see,
visual
that are
effects, you
visible
see
to
them.
us.
Yeah.
So there's upgrades being made that you don't see.
You
That's
can't
underneath
even
the
see it
skin.
at all. Yeah.
So we don't know what
Also,
upgrades is being done underneath the car. We're just going on visibility. So if they bring a
Well, I've
new
seen.
side pod or a new wing, that's the only thing we can say. Okay, they brought an upgrade, but I don't know. Maybe they change. They could have upgraded the springs in the front suspension. They could have changed something on the layout of cooling ducts under the skin. We don't know.
And that's
That to
what I
them is
don't
an
get
upgrade.
when people are arguing why they talked about bringing side pod, and I'm like, they just brought side pod 4 races ago. In what world
Yeah,
are
but
you
look
going
at
to
Red. Look,
change the
look, look,
side pod in
but
Silverstone again?
but Kingsley, look at Red Bull. Red Bull have obviously this is an evolution of what they brought in it, but this is from like we were
Baku,
saying in the
the
last
last they
conversation. Hold
had
on.
Baku. Baku was when they brought the
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is that there was a whole contradiction because I said,
But
and Fanas backed me
contribution,
up on this.
contradiction.
No
Yeah.
contradiction in that they was going to bring a
new
bigger
big.
package to. Hold on, Kingsley,
Let me
one
see the go
second,
on.
bro. And Fanas backed me up on this because he saw it as well. That there was contradiction that yes, Mercedes was going to bring some new side pods, the evolution of what they got because these side pods were
Oh,
just like
okay.
the
Where did you get
standard
But
that from?
but
standard.
Mercedes never
Oh,
said that.
Kings.
Exactly. No, Mercedes never said that.
Yeah, I know, and this is what I'm saying that there was conflicting
By
From
who?
reports
who?
But that's
that
From
some
who? Was this from
Mercedes
the
never said
team?
this
It's
was
not coming from the
this.
team.
You're reading. It was the
I
guys.
know
It
it's
was
not.
those guys
Yeah,
from Formula Uno. Or I can't remember. I can't pronounce the name, but it's the Italian
yeah,
guys. They were the ones who made a report that they will be bringing side
uh,
pods, a new floor, whatever at
yeah,
Silverstone. What we heard from
yeah.
Mercedes was
New
that
cover
they
and all.
would be bringing a big upgrade package to Silverstone. They never said what
Yeah,
that upgrade package was.
okay.
Yeah.
They've never said
Well,
they didn't. They've
Exactly.
never said, "Oh, we're going to bring this." They've always said we're going to bring an upgrade. No one knows what that
mm,
upgrade. I mean, yeah, with the exception of Monaco, we did know that they were going to bring a new suspension because they did tell us that's
Yep.
what they were going to do. But for
mm,
Silverstone, they just brought a front wing, which people view as, "Oh, that's not a big upgrade." And again, people view are doing things based on visibility. So if it's not three, four,
mm,
five pieces, it's not considered a big upgrade. But when you consider that a front wing contributes what
25%.
25%
Yeah,
of the
of the car.
downforce of a Formula One car, that's a massive chunk of performance you're
And
talking
not just
about
the
it.
downforce, the drag too. Almost 15 to 20% of the drag.
A lot.
That's a
Oh,
lot.
to add to that, Merck we know is used to doing like a big package upgrade, not just like one piece or another. If you remember to Silverstone 21, I mean that's the most obvious one, but like even last season, I'm pretty sure they would bring more than one thing at once when it comes to upgrades, and they're one of the only cars that has to worry about the change of concept for next year because they're not sticking with the chassis. They have to move the seat position. I
Yeah.
think
So
part
they're
of that is
limited in
probably
what they
them
can
trying to
do this
manage
year.
what they
Yep,
So
absolutely.
I mean, I that's why I don't. That's why sometimes when I read the timeline and I see people getting angry and all, it's like, oh, I'm thinking, are you guys actually listening and paying attention to what's being said and what's going on? It's a cost cap. You can't expect things to be happening like that. They can't just go ahead and snap their fingers and everything is right and they're back to it. It's gonna take time. You can't. It's not gonna happen this year. It
It's not
was
going to
never going
happen.
to happen this year.
Yeah, we get that it's not going to happen this year. I think everyone knows
Really,
that this year.
not based on the timeline
Yeah,
on
you would think
Saturday
they want them
Yeah,
on
to
a
yeah,
win.
Friday.
I
I
know,
mean,
but I
Friday if they
think
don't
I
perform well
think
in practice on a Friday, everybody, oh my god, the
They
shit did
haven't
this. Oh,
crashed on them.
and I'm like, oh my god, Jesus.
yeah, but fairness, you have to look at it this way. Everyone is frustrated that it had to take them a year and a half to realize that they fucked up. A
But
team
again,
like
did they do
hold
that?
on,
But did it take a year and a
hold
half
on, one
though?
second.
Exactly.
It did. Well, not a year and a half, but a year and a couple of months for them to
No,
realize that they
No, they didn't.
hold
No.
no.
on.
Again,
So how was
It's a
it?
matter of
Again. Hold on, Kings. Again,
Hold
people are hearing things, but they're not listening to what's being said. I go back to what James Allison said when he came back
Yeah.
in the fold. James Allison said,
Mm,
"Look, we can develop the current platform to be a car that wins races, but
mm,
what we're looking long term. We want to win
championship.
championships."
Yeah.
Not just win
mm.
races, the odd races here and there. We want to win championships on a more consistent or be competitive to win championships on a more consistent basis. We don't feel we can do that with this
And then
current
have a
concepts.
developmental path that is
Yeah,
wide enough to go with it. So this
exactly.
car,
So they
yeah,
don't feel like they can do with that concept. So they've made the decision
Mm.
that they're going to go down a different path because this path will now give them the opportunity to build something that will make them a more consistent challenger for championships.
yep.
So I don't think it's a case of they
They pretty
realize
much
later
said
that
that
they
in
fucked up.
Bahrain, even. They said that in
Yeah.
Bahrain.
I don't think it's a case they realize that they fucked up. I realize it's a case of where they've assessed their situation and look at the Red Bull and look at their cars and
Mm.
think, will this be enough to challenge Red Bull on a year basis? No. Theoretically, in
And
some
people,
way, you can somewhat say they're probably saying, "Oh, we fucked up the concept."
no,
I can
no,
get why you can probably somewhat say that, but
no, it's okay to say that because even the team said it before that the car is shit. I think what people are forgetting is that what masked the performance for them for the W13 was that it was purposing, and so the idea was if we fix purposing,
The
everything
porpoising,
that
yeah,
ails this car is gone. And by
yeah,
the time they did
exactly.
that, they
That's what.
realized, oh shit, it wasn't just the purposing. So if there was no purposing in that car and the car was still shit, I believe the car that came to Bahrain this year would have been a completely different chassis and a different car.
Well, that's the thing.
So
That is the
where
thing.
would they
Like
have to have
from
changed
last.
whether the purposing was a problem? Because by the time they died it out of the car, you pretty much want to now develop the new car to see if it was just purpose. It wasn't because the old car you didn't have after the season and you can't run it again. You have to build a new car in which you've died at purposing from completely.
Yeah, I
And
know,
then
but
you realize, oh shit, it wasn't just the purposing, there were other things wrong with the car.
yeah, I know, but I don't know, and that's the thing. Like from last year, yes, it wasn't just porpoising with the car. It was one stuff went, and then there was more stuff with the car. So I understand that. So now they carried that over to this year, thinking, okay, yes, we sorted out the porpoising, but yet they were still not competitive. So they've decided to go down a different
That's
route.
the point. Okay,
Into,
if they were right, for
you
example,
know,
and then purposely was a problem, and then they fixed it from that card, the W14 is better, we would not be having this conversation. The only way they could test it wasn't purposing, it was in this current car. So by the time I remember in Bahrain after test, they pretty much said the car that is going to come in 6-7 race time is completely different from this because we have seen it that what we have right now
yeah, I
is not
know.
going to work. So
When I was saying that,
so where are you getting the
you
one
know,
year and a half from a few months?
well, not 1 year, well,
Well,
not
yeah,
1 year and a
Kings.
half,
Well,
but
Kings are
a year.
technically they're going to be a year and a half because if they're going to switch concept, they're technically going to
They're going
be
to
a
be going.
year because they've. I think
From
they've.
yeah,
I
you're saying
think
from no, I'm taking. He's talking about the previous year, not this one. The previous time they've lost, not year from onward to next year. No,
But I'm talking about this current concept this current car that they had before they did the changes was one that they carried on from last year. You think, okay,
it's pretty much
let's
still
sort
the
out the
same
pool.
car with the exception of a
Yeah,
few.
exactly.
Yeah,
A few minor,
compromised upgrades, as you said.
exactly compromise upgrades to this car. So next year is going to be a different season to see what they're going to do this season. But yeah, I don't know. Lewis hasn't got, even though Lewis says that, yeah, he's going to be here for the next, how many years,
5 years.
etc. 5
He's
years,
going to
you
sign
know,
a 5 years
if,
contract.
Lewis is going to
yeah,
retire when
no,
he's 44.
Yeah, we already agree on that.
I,
44 retiring on 44. Yeah.
personally, I think that once he gets his 8th championship, he's going to retire. I think that's what he wants, and then he's going to bounce. Like, let's keep it spade a spade. So I'm hoping that next year is going to be a
I'm
different
not
year.
hoping nothing. I'm telling you next year. I'm
No,
telling you next year. Mark my word.
yeah,
Again, bookmark it.
go on.
Mark my word. Next year, from race one, Mercedes will be a championship challenge contender from the get go. They'll be on Red Bull's ass from race one up until the end of the season. Mark my word. I'm confident that they will.
You're alone on this,
Yeah,
Thanos.
well, I don't
I would
mind. My
I would
back's broad.
I will wait to see the winter testing
Nah,
and
My
then see
back's
what it.
broad, dude. I'm not scared. What? I'm not scared of saying if it
I'm
doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Then shit happens. It is
I'm
what it
not.
is.
It's not about being scared. I have been born twice, so
Yeah,
I would have to wait to
but
see winter.
did you not come into last season thinking Arsenal could win the league? You're
No,
going
no, no, no,
are
no,
you
no, no,
going
no. I didn't.
you're going
Nothing
into this
prepared me for us even
you're
from
going
that.
into
And
this
that's why we were happy because
but you're going into this season thinking Arsenal can win the league, right?
yeah, we were very
You're
close.
going
Yes,
into
but
this season thinking Arsenal can win the league, right?
yes, yes, yes,
Okay, so I'm going into next season thinking Mercedes can win the championship, and I
Ah,
genuinely
okay. I know.
and you choked away a championship to Man City.
Yeah, but then again, we knew why we choked, but that's okay.
Oh,
We
so
have
you finally admit that you
hey,
choked.
we
hey,
Good.
yeah we
don't
I've
bring football
there
into
We
was no
can
this.
agree with that.
I've never
We can
Look
shied
agree.
at
away
these.
from it. I've never shied away from it.
We can agree with that.
Listen, it is what it is. But back to the the
And
situation at hand in terms of this season here, we have to. I just hope that these guys they are competitive this weekend because
Competitive in
again
what
with
regard? Because I mean, last
yeah,
year they
you're
finished
already
two
no
threes.
competitive. Who are you
yeah
comparing?
I know they finished 2-3, but like I said, it was, and I'll be brutally frank honest, it was luck that the safety car came out with it. If
Where?
the safety car did well, last race that was luck last year, but
I mean,
but if
luck is
yeah,
part of sports.
but if you look at last year's car, I say last year's car was a bit better than this year's car when they brought the upgrade
No,
to
this year's car is better than
um
last year's car.
Brit. In terms of the British Grand Prix, they were a bit more. They were more
No,
competitive.
this year
Like,
you are looking. I'm looking at it purely from the lap times.
so
Lap
you're telling
times,
me that
this year's
you're
car is
telling me
better.
that
If
last,
we have this car last year, we were challenging Mass for pole position, basically.
yeah. Listen, if they got that, if everything worked out as it's supposed to be, in terms of they got everything right, there was no porpoising and the car was running smoothly, then we could have that conversation to say, yeah, they would have been challenging last
But
year.
that's not what
But
he said.
That's not what I said.
He
yeah,
I'm
said
comparing
if
with
they
you.
had,
Are saying last year car was more. I'm saying no. If you look at the W13 and the W14, the difference in lap time is a second, 1 full second. It's not even close. So they're not. You can't compare their competitiveness. This W14 is much more competitive. It's just that every other team also improved the attack. So if
Made a step,
Are you
yeah.
saying before these upgrades or prior to the
it was still
upgrades?
faster. If you just pick any of the race, pick Bahrain for example. The
We're
last
not
time we
comparing
picked it,
cars, are we, Kingsley? Are we
okay,
just
no, we're not
are we
Are you?
comparing.
comparing cars?
We are
Are we
comparing. No, we're
comparing
comparing
cars or comparing time?
relative gap to the two
Kingsley,
cars.
Are you?
Kingsley,
That's what
are
we're
we
doing.
we're comparing cars, aren't we?
No, we're
We're
comparing
comparing. Are we?
relative
We're
gap.
comparing cars, aren't we?
Yes, we.
We're comparing cars, aren't we?
I don't want to have that conversation. So,
No,
Anthony,
we're just gonna compare times,
if
not
you pick
cars.
Bahrain, for example, take the W13 and the
Yeah.
W14, the 14 is almost a second faster.
I did the maths. I did the maths. Lewis qualified this year, basically 0.92
Above what he did the
above
last year.
compared. Last year he did a
Yeah.
31. He did a 31. I think 6. Was it 31? Yeah, 31 6.
No, 31,
Some,
last year qualifying was 31.2 for Lewis.
and this year he did a
30 something.
30.1 or something like
Yes.
30.6 or something like that. So they were 9 10. Max
90, that's almost
actually
a second. Yeah, that's the gap.
Max barring time last year and this year times was 0.932. He was
Yes.
only 3 thousandths of a second
Faster.
quicker than Lewis because Lewis improved by 0.902. Max was 0.932. I did the maths the other day.
Yeah, so that tells you that in the W14, if this was the car with the debut with last year, will pretty much be on pace with every other team at the top. So it's not the same. You can't compare this car and last year's car.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Point taken. If that's the case, then that's the case. So that all I'm just hoping is that we see how this track suits. We see how the car suits the track this weekend. You know how they are competitive, and I don't see that stupid papaya and chrome and fucking car ahead of them because I'll be like, mate. Well, no, I'm serious because
The,
no,
the
I'm serious.
papaya was pretty much slow from in the slow speed corner in Silverstone. So I would,
Yeah, I
if
know,
I was a
but the
betting
thing is,
man, I would bet against them here. Yes.
no, but the thing is, like, you could argue that when it came to the tire compound, that Lewis could have overtaken Lando, but he's saying that the car was like rapid in the straights. I'm like, well,
Nah,
if they're
he
rapid,
was
Well,
losing.
pretty
He
much
lost his
said it that
time in the corners,
yeah, in the corner.
the fast
well, he
corners.
said in the straight,
Nah, it was the
yeah,
fast corners he
It
lost
was the
all of
first
his time.
corners, yeah.
okay, because he was saying that it was the
No,
straights
no,
that
no,
he
it
was
wasn't the straight. It
that
was
the
the fast corners
rapids,
mainly. By the straight, yes, they were efficient in the straight, but most of the
yeah.
time he was losing was in the fast sections of the track, turn 6, 7 or whichever where it was. So he was losing most of the time there. He couldn't even follow that close at all.
Mm, okay,
Yeah, if you can follow in the fast corners like Maggis and Beckett's, then
yeah,
You're
it
pretty
seems
much
like he's
done.
that
You're
far
done.
ahead on the straight.
Granted, Silverstone is very difficult to overtake in, and if you cannot follow a car like that, you're pretty much done. There's nothing you can do with that car. It's reset the way it is. I believe the W14 will be better here than Silverstone.
Well, that's
I
what I'm
believe
saying
so.
as
I
well
believe we're better.
because of the track layout and it's different from Silverstone. I do think that there'll be more. I do, honestly feel that they will be more competitive.
Yeah, and then the front wing too
For
probably
this
help
week,
them with the slow speed corner, which is the purpose of the
as
front wing. So
exactly. So that's another key issue that because of their
Look, man,
slowing,
stop it.
I don't know about
You
the
lot
rim.
need to just. I know it's a tough season and it's miserable and it hurts not
that's
seeing Lewis winning, but
I'm actually
man,
enjoying the
just
season.
enjoy the season, man, for what it is, man. Look,
I can't enjoy the season with
yeah,
that
we
tosser.
can't, but you know
Here's
what? It's
what
the
I
name of the
did.
game,
This is
dude.
what I
It's how the
did
game is played.
after the summer, the winter testing. I pretty much settled it in my mind that this car cannot win championship this year. So I was looking forward to W15. So every race here, I love seeing Lewis dragging that car to the podium,
Yeah,
Look,
trying
listen,
to overtake, do it. So
listen.
that's just
Look,
the good thing for me here. So other than that,
look. I mean, you can enjoy, you can find some form of enjoyment in seeing him.
his recovery drive for the car, yes.
You still get to see him race. You still see him
Yeah, the
performing
skills of the driver himself. Yeah,
at his best. So I mean,
yeah.
there's things I I look forward to. Yeah, I know the race is going to be a pretty much boring with Max winning off it, but I've never really been
I
give a
don't
shit
think
about
that
Max race.
Max. I
So
think you people should not rule out a surprise package. You will be surprised. That new win, the new side for whatever the cooling system It might just vaporize and the
Yeah, I
car
mean,
might
I
really.
wouldn't mind it blowing up
Yeah,
this
not
weekend.
vaporize.
I
Just say, but the kind of
genuinely,
he can't drive the car very well, and then something has happened. You might be
I
surprised.
genuinely like to see it just blow up this weekend just for the fun of
I don't
because
want it to blow up so they can blame
why
mechanic on
not?
it. I just
Nah,
want it to be
they don't
overheated
blow
so
up
much
anymore.
it just chews up its
But
tire.
who would they blame if it blows up?
And they will say mechanical stuff, so that's why. So I want them to run the
I
race
don't
to the
care.
end. Okay, well, I don't care either, but at least I want them to suffer the
I just want him
horrifying
blow up.
of
I just,
running. No,
you know
Samus.
what? You
If
know
you
what,
want to
love. You
complete
know,
this charity race,
this
whatever
would
the
be my
number is.
ideal. This would be my ideal scenario, Lewis.
Okay.
Kingsley. He's P1. Lewis is P2. He has like a 10-second lead, and 3 laps to go. His car just starts to slow down, and Lewis just drive past and wave to him. You know, just
Louis is not going away.
just wave, just give him one. You know, like how the Queen used to wave. Just give him one of those Queen wave, like,
Yeah, he's not going away. Louis
and
is not gonna,
smile at
my
him.
ideal scenario would be
Yeah,
he
that
has
would
the
be my.
car for the entire 17 lap or whatever the number is, but the hits in the Hungary is so much on the new cooling system that they're asking him, you can maintain this speed, therefore you have to drive slowly, and everybody's just passing him. But he can't retire the car because it's not hot enough to cause damage, but he can't lean on the car because his tires.
I want him to retire the car. I don't care. I don't want him to
He will
finish.
basically be running
Yeah,
around his tires.
Look, man. I just want Max. I just want his car to blow up. I don't. All it happens, I do not care. So I don't know. Let's cut the scenarios. I just want it to blow up. That's
It just
all
blow up.
I care about. You
Yeah.
know me. I'm like that sometimes. But anyway, tomorrow's practice.
FP.
Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow, I probably need to go and get some sleep tonight because I know tomorrow the timeline is going to be another one of those. Oh, people complaining. Oh, the car is shit. The car is this. Like, duh, we know the car is shit. I mean, everybody knows it. Why you keep
That's pretty much
like
what.
Jay? Angry.
I
Like,
wonder how this will impact their qualifying. You know, is it going to still be the same as they are? Like
huh?
they're not good in qualifying, but they're in terms of the qualifying pace and their race pace. I wonder if it's still going to be the same.
The
If
same,
what is going to be
the
the
same
same?
with what? With Silverstone, for example? The
Well, you
Silverstone, I
guys,
think we said it before.
no,
I think we kind of make
not
a
in terms
huge deal out of Silverstone.
Not in terms, no, in terms of how they're not strong in the qualifying, but in the race pace, we know we've got a good race pace. I wonder will this track make a difference in terms of where we
First of all, the
qualify,
car,
which
the
maybe
DNA
how
of
they
the
do it.
car is such that it performs better in a race. That's the DNA. But you can then be set
Yeah,
up
I
to
know,
do some
but
other things in terms of quality.
I
Yeah.
would I would like to see them up the grid like say P4, P5
Yeah, but
instead of
I
being
think
P7 and
the
P8
thing
because
is,
So,
you
for
know what
but
I'm
the
example,
saying.
reason.
Silverstone. We talked about
Mhm.
Silverstone before. P2 to P7, you could pretty much fit. In fact, if anybody gets a tenth, probably be
Mm.
P3, for example. That's how bunched up it was. And that lap time, we said it before in this race, yeah, that could pretty much be 1 or 2 corners where you lose that. So it wasn't as if the quality lap was that bad because if there was a
everyone else was
it was
closer.
a 5-10 difference between second and where Lewis was, I say, okay, yes, it was bad. It was less than 2 tenths, the gap. So, I mean, pretty much not that big in the grand scheme of things. So
I
I
mean,
don't
because
think the car
Georgia
was too bad.
qualified Lewis by less by what 11th of a thousandth
Up
or
a
something
thousand,
like that. I
yes,
think it
yes,
was.
yes, something like that, yes.
So yeah, I mean, but they do need to get Saturday qualifying
Yeah,
sorted because
oh, higher up. Yeah.
it makes the Sundays easier if they qualify better.
Agreed. Agreed.
Because then you
Exactly,
can
and
use.
that
But
and
then again, they're going to utilize that pace against who? Nobody
Ferraris,
because it's not like they're
Aston
going to
Martin.
challenge Max.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look again, like you're saying, Fanas, it makes their job a bit more easy if they're
Oh,
up the
absolutely.
grid
It
than
makes their work easier.
as exactly, and that's what I'm hoping that this weekend, that when they qualify this weekend, I'd like to see them guys up at what P4, P5 minimum. I know it's going to be a tall order, but if this new front wing now and the track supposed to be suited to their car going forward, that's all I can pray for, really and truly, to say, you know what, let's give it a go. You know what I'm saying?
One
It's
thing
going
I
to
do
be
know, but this is what I know is going to happen this tomorrow and Saturday. People are going to bitch and moan and complain about, oh, the car should yeah. So
Yeah, we're gonna be fine. After
I don't.
all.
I don't really get worked up about qualifying anymore.
Russell
Like,
qualified pole here last year, so we
Oh
should
I
be
don't
yeah, I
know. I don't
remember
get
that.
worked up about stuff like
yeah,
that.
we should
Anyway,
be good
my
there.
guy Sean, what's up?
Hey, Thanos, Kingsley, everybody, you good?
Yeah, we're good,
We're
man.
good,
What's happening?
man.
You good?
Yeah,
Good
hold on. I'm just
afternoon.
waiting to get my Nando's out of the door in a minute. Yeah. Anyway, uh, thanks for hosting again, Thanos.
You guys
And
are gonna start paying me for this, you know.
Yeah, you've been saying that for 2 years
I have to
now.
pay my. I have to
we need
pay
to
internet bill.
subscribe. We need to subscribe. So yeah, I know you guys are banging on about tires and whatnot that they may have to use and stuff. I think it's gonna be a washout. You know, they were saying from Friday and Saturday it's gonna be raining mad day, isn't it? That's what they were saying.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there a rain
So
forecast? I've
Well,
never
yes,
seen.
it rained last year, didn't it? Didn't
I
it?
think
Did it rain
it,
last year?
Did it?
yes, it did rain yesterday when they were there before they qualified because remember they had to. That's where the
Oh
car
yeah,
Yeah,
they
that's
changing
right.
applied.
conditions. Yes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. So they're saying there's a 70% chance of rain tomorrow and same on Saturday.
So we need
Thunderstorms.
so we need Botas up further up the grid then.
Yes. And then Sunday should be dry. There's a 20% chance of rain on Sunday, but that should be like a dry race, hopefully. So
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't
So
know.
that means even
Like
if Mac qualified last, he's still gonna win the race.
he's still gonna win the race.
yeah.
Yes.
That's depressing.
I just wanted to touch on well a few stories that broke during the week actually. The Coast Cup
Mm,
and what Louis said about the race thing that Seb told him. I'll
mm.
start with the racism first. I don't think Lewis had to tell us that. I think we all know what he was, what he's been through. We all know which teams really, by their actions, show their true colors. There's a doctor, someone with a certain team. Don't want to say his name. He was always chatting rubbish, so I want to bet it's probably him. Who's
Yeah,
been one of those people
It's
that
cool
yeah.
what Seb said, but my main question is, what did Seb do when they said that? What did
Well,
he say? Because that's the more important part for me. Because
Yeah,
it's one thing going ahead and tell Lewis, oh, you know, I heard some people saying some racist shit about it. Yeah, okay, but what did you say to them when they say it? Because that's the most important part.
yeah,
but
if he's
what
telling
can he
Lewis
do?
about it,
What can he do? Imagine if,
It's not
for
matter.
example,
It's not a matter of what can I mean. What can he do? He can actually
I
confront the
don't think
person.
he, I don't. Here's what I
He
think.
could
I
have
don't think he was
confronted
reporting.
said person and say something. But if he just heard it and didn't say anything, I mean, and then you're gonna
I
tell
don't
Louis,
think he was reporting it to Lewis in a way that look as if it was a hearsay. This is what I heard.
yeah, he
I
was
think
just
it
telling
came.
them that
I think
I
it
know
came in
this
the
person.
conversation,
Yes.
probably, and then in that same conversation, maybe he would have also said what he did or didn't do, and I
Exactly.
but
don't think Lewis will be
that's my
revealing
question.
that.
So that's what I'm saying. That's
Yes,
what I
Lewis will
want to
be.
know. I'm
Yeah,
more interested in finding out what did he do when he fought when these people made those racist comments
yeah.
about Lewis because I mean, them to say it around him meant that they were
Yeah.
comfortable in saying it.
Oh yeah.
No, no,
Oh
no,
yeah.
no, no,
So,
no,
so
no, 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 no,
don't what?
don't do it that way. Because if you think if here's how I say it, a racist is going to say racist things even if nobody is there or somebody is there to challenge him or otherwise. It wasn't about being comfortable saying it around him. Lewis is on record saying people call him names when he was there. It was as if they were comfortable saying that around him. They
Yeah,
could just
Yeah.
say whatever they want to say.
but
Yeah,
here's the thing. You're talking
yeah,
about the people who would be comfortable saying those sorts of stuff, or people who are openly racist.
yeah.
Yeah.
They have no problem saying that. But
And
within the
then and if
hold on, hear me out.
yeah.
But within the paddock, I don't think you're gonna have someone who's that openly racist where they feel they can just say these shit without feeling threatened that something's gonna happen. So my
that
thing,
you're talking
what
about
I'm trying to say is, whoever said it, right, felt like they could say it around Seb, thinking that Seb would not say nothing or that Seb would
or
seem okay with it.
it's also possible that Seb told the person, oh,
Not to do
But
that.
Lewis is my friend. I'm going to have
that's
this
what I'm
conversation
saying.
with him
But
too.
that's what I'm saying. I'm just curious to know
Yeah.
what he said in that moment. I'm not saying I'm not really having a go at him or said he did anything wrong.
Yeah.
I just wanted to just I'm just wondering what did he say in that moment because it's like I replied to someone yesterday about it. It's like me sitting here and hearing someone talking shit about my mom. Rather than saying something to the person right there and then, I'm gonna come to my mom and say, "Oh, I heard XYZ talking shit about you in front of me." No,
Mm.
I'm gonna approach you. I'm gonna approach you and like, what the fuck? You can't talk shit like that in front of me, especially to my mom. I'm gonna give you an example as well.
Mm.
A company I used to work for years ago. My manager, there was a lot of Jamaicans, and now my manager went, "Oh, I don't like Jamaicans," and she was saying all this, and I
Oh
turned to her
God.
and I turned to her and I went, "You don't know I'm Jamaican, right?" And she went, "Oh, no, 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 not you, not you, not you, not me, you." And I said to her, "I don't give a shit what you mean. I don't give a shit about not me. I am a Jamaican, so you saying you don't like Jamaicans mean
That's
you
not right. Yeah, yeah,
indirectly speaking
Yeah.
about me. So
exactly.
you see what I mean? I could have sat there and like, and then go and see one of the Jamaicans she was talking about, and say, "Oh, you know what?
Exactly.
She don't like." You put a stop to it right there and then. So that's what I'm saying. I just wanted to know. I just hope that in a situation like that, when Seb heard it, he would have confronted the person or persons who said what they said and like, "Yo, you can't be saying that shit, especially around me,
I
because
believe. I believe.
Lewis is a friend of mine."
Yeah, I
Probably
believe.
did.
I
We hope
believe. Yes,
so.
I agree with you. If he's
Probably did.
telling Luis about it, it's
Yeah, he
probably that he
probably
did
did.
something about it too.
Or
Otherwise,
maybe, he's
why
guilty,
report?
Kingsley, of not doing something, and he thinks, it feels bad. So, Lewis,
Yeah.
look, this is what was happening.
Yeah.
So I think we need a Naomi interview there. I don't want to see a Natalie or Karun Chandok
I
interview
don't
with
think
Lewis
Naomi will
asking.
even do justice to it.
Yeah.
I
Nah.
don't. I don't
Look,
believe Naomi will
look,
do justice.
look. This Seb, what Seb said is no surprise because
Oh, we know that. We
there's
know
this
that.
Indian reporter lady. She blocked me because I remember I pulled her up on it. She
Okay.
tweeted out. She was on Twitter. And she did it. She said something about that there's the paddock has a special name that they all call Lewis whenever he comes in the paddock, and if he found
Okay.
out what it was, they'd get in trouble. And I'm like, so you all sitting down,
Oh, really?
so y'all in the paddock? Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Okay.
If Varun was here, he would have been able to tell you
Yeah,
who
she's
her
there.
name is.
She's there.
So no, Varun. If he was, is he here? If he was here,
Oh,
he would
sorry.
have been able.
Sorry, I was answering someone
He
else.
would have been able to tell you who she was. She blocked me because of it. Because even Spanish pulled her up on it. Like, okay, so that's what you guys are sitting down doing, making funny names about him and calling him and all of these things, and she's still within the paddock. So it's not a surprise. Lewis himself said he did an
So he
interview
knows
with
then.
Brundle where he said, "Look." Brundle asked him, "Have you ever experienced racism in the paddock?" And he said, "Yeah, I experience it often." And Brundle asked him who, and he said, "I'm not going to tell you who though."
Well, he
But
knows.
he
He's not
knows. So
stupid.
it's
Yeah.
so the people who the funny part for me with that when with what Seb said is the people who find it shocking.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the part that's funny
I
to
think
me.
it's false
Like, why are you
outrage.
shocked? Why are
I
you
don't think they're
shocked?
genuinely shocked per se. I just think they had to react. Maybe that was the only expression I can, because you can't honestly, unless you've been living under a rock from a mass and then just drop to planet Earth, you can't honestly think that that is not
There's
happening.
a photographer right now. I think his name's Phil Thompson.
Yeah,
When
I remember him. He's an
when
Alonso fan, apparently.
Yeah.
when Mercedes announced that Bottas was going to be partnering Lewis for 2017, you know what he tweeted? The dude tweeted a 12-inch black dildo saying, "Oh," and with the tagline, "Bottas is fucked."
Yeah.
That's what he
Yeah.
tweeted.
Yeah. I remember
And
that.
he's a photographer in the
Still there.
paddock
Still there.
right
Yeah,
now.
still there.
You forgot about he stopped tweeting too, but I forgot about the other guy's name that was talking about Lewis's grill.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's in the paddock.
Ben Hunt. Ben Hunt.
Oh, Benen's an idiot, man.
Yeah.
I
That guy's
don't
an
no one
idiot.
paid. So the people who were shocked with what Seb said, I just laughed like, why are you shocked? I mean, you see the paddock, right? The
Oh
paddock
yeah.
is still 99.9% white.
Right. Yeah.
Why are you shocked that this is being said? It's not going to change.
Not gonna change.
But again, but my original thing is, I just wanted to know what in that moment what Seb did, but I'll never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll never know.
Probably you have to wait a lot when Louis releases his book.
Oh no, when
Well,
that book comes out, man, a lot of people are gonna get flame in
Oh
that
yes,
book.
yeah,
I would pre-order
don't
it.
forget though, guys. He got it west when he was young. When he was coming on
Oh
those,
yes,
GP
absolutely.
two, and the way he kind of carried himself, I think, should act as an inspiration to all of us, really, to say,
No,
never let that,
Mm,
no, never let
no.
that
I agree. I
stop
agree
you
with
doing what
Sean
Sean,
you want
here.
to
I
do.
Sean,
think
Sean,
I
Never
think
let that
Sean.
stop.
we've
I've
had this
I'm
conversation
Yeah,
before.
I'm off the victim mentality now, where people say something, I get really offended
no,
with it.
no.
I'm,
Sorry, sorry.
I'm
You know what? Sometimes I've said this before. Sometimes I wish he'd cut the kumbaya shit and just start tell some
like
people
F
about
off.
them. No, let's. No, seriously, I'm serious because how
He
much can
wouldn't
you
have
take?
lasted long in the sport.
But you know, Kingsley,
Yeah,
No, you know what it is though.
That was then. I'm talking about now. There's
Yeah,
he's
but
nothing
now a
you can't
formal.
just
household
all of a
name
No,
now.
sudden flip a
hear
switch
me out,
and
Kingsley.
change.
Kingsley, hear me out. There's nothing Formula One can do for Lewis Hamilton right now.
Yes,
Absolutely fuck all. He doesn't
yes,
need Formula One for absolutely nothing.
yes.
He's a brand unto himself. So
Of
the
course,
sport
agree.
can't do anything. So in this moment, I appreciate when certain people talk shit. Lewis should just come out in the media and like, yo, why you talking shit?
Yeah, the difference is that
What?
this is you are assuming that he has a switch that he can just flip on and then
But
both of
that's
the
what I'm saying,
persona.
Kingsley. I
It's
said I wish he
okay,
had
it's
that
fine.
in him where he would at some point he just what I mean.
Yeah,
I
because
Sell
wish
it.
he
Yeah.
yeah,
Singapore 2000.
I
I wish
understand
he
what you're
would
saying.
done a Singapore 2011 with Massa when Massa
I
came out
say,
and be
don't
like, "Yo,
touch me,
dude, don't
dude.
touch me, dude."
Don't touch
I
me.
want him to. I want to
Hey,
see
Thanos, you know why he doesn't do that anymore?
what.
It's because of Anthony, man. I think in the sport he came up, and I think 2007 probably all the racism he probably felt when he was a kid. Like Anthony probably taught him to be the bigger man. And the only few times that we've seen him do that in F1, see Monaco 2011 when he says that stuff, he got threatened a 6 race
Yeah,
ban
Mm-hmm.
just for that. Like no one else has ever had that.
Because
exactly.
no one
And
else
I
is
think
black in Formula One.
That's
So
the point.
well, I
That's
mean,
the point.
he's not gonna
yeah,
say that
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
And
I
I
get
mean,
all of
now
that.
he's like an
That
example of
at
how
that
to do
point
it.
in time, I can understand why he probably bit by bit, whatever his tongue, hold it back in. But at this
Yeah.
stage in his career, where he is
He,
now,
yeah.
he's a household name now. He should say
as I
what he
said,
wants.
he's a brand unto himself. There's nothing Formula One can do
Exactly.
for him. Formula One can't
Exactly.
hurt him. He can.
Yeah.
I wish he would just
He
turn
would
around and
become.
just like, you
He
know
would be
what?
labeled a
Yeah.
hypocrite.
No,
Don't forget though, Thanos
Everything,
as
the
well.
persona
Remember
he
how
built over the
before he
years
left McLaren,
would could have been
there's a
wiped out.
time when Lewis would come with Nicole and some of his hip hop friends. It's the time when they were dressing up, like 50 Cent and whatnot. The eyes they used to get, even from their own team members, man. I understand why he ended up leaving that team because
I
they
mean,
wanted Lewis to dress up a certain way and just be this clown. Like they
But
wanted him
they
to
were
know.
man,
Hey,
controlling
this
a lot.
Lewis
is.
is. You see, Lewis is too nice of a person. Someone like me, oh shit.
That's why you're not in F1.
Exactly.
yeah, that's why it's
Exactly.
Lewis,
That's
man. He
why I'm not
still
in
gotta
F1
be.
because if I was in F1, a lot of the shit that he put up with, I would
Yeah.
not be
Nah, I
having it.
wouldn't. I wouldn't
I
either.
would not have it.
True,
I
true.
honestly
See,
believe
he's a
that
better
he
man
did it
than me.
for. I think he I honestly
Better
believe
man than
that
all of us.
he knew that he was
Well,
occupying a space in time that transcends just himself, and
Yeah,
so
of course.
well,
he
guys,
had to
he's
do
not just
certain
a
things.
driver. He's
Yeah.
like a race ambassador. He's trying to like do a lot, the commission, all that
Yes.
stuff.
So
He's not just Lewis the
exactly, it wasn't
driver.
just
Who's
That's
was
about
why
he?
him
even
anymore.
with
He has
Abu
it
Dhabi,
has
he couldn't
transcended
say
him, and
anything
so
wrong.
he
Was it
needed to act
was it
differently.
was it Lewis who said in an interview? I think was it the Vanity Fair interview he did, or I can't remember which one. Where he said to be the only person in a
Yeah,
room is a lonely path to walk or something like that.
Yeah.
So he realizes. I don't get me wrong. I understand all the why he did what he needed to do because again he's the odd one out in the paddock. So you can't behave. You have to conform to their reality. You can't bring your reality to them at that point in time. So he had to conform because he wanted to stay around. But what I'm
And then
saying,
showcase his talent, which was the
yeah,
most important thing.
yeah. But what I'm saying is, once he got to a stage where he's like, "Yo, I'm established. You fuckers can't really do shit to me. So you know what? Fuck. Excuse my French, my French,
It's
everybody.
not French, it's English.
No, it's French.
It's the how do you
Excuse
say
my
it?
French. Excuse my French people. Wish he would have just told some people to fun. People like James McAvoy.
Oh,
People like him. All of them people like fuck off. Don't come and don't speak to me.
Like,
You know what I mean?
I think, but he actually
Just let
they
some
did not
people
stop taking
put people in
questions
the
from him
places.
or something.
Just let people know that know
I
your
have
place,
chosen
know
violence.
your
He
place.
won't do that either.
But that's I
I don't
know.
think he'll do that
I,
either
I'm
because all the younger drivers that come in look
I'm
to like inspire
yes,
them as well. Not
I
all of them,
get
but
all of these, all of what you're saying. I'm just saying, me personally, I wish he would have just done.
eh,
Sometimes in certain
all of us
situation,
would.
he would have just like let people know, like, you know what, you guys have this idea about stereotypical angry black man. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna give you an angry black man one day and
Hey,
just get it over and done with. Because
Oh, he
enough is
I will
has.
enough.
say
You
one
can
thing.
only take so much.
All the stuff that Lewis isn't saying in the media, people like Spins are saying.
Oh
That's how
yeah,
you
man.
know what he
Spin,
really
spin.
feels. Is
Oh
what his
yes,
You
friends
see,
say.
yes.
you have to respect Spins because Spins is probably the realest of all his friends because that man comes on Twitter and he says his shit
And he
and
blasts
and
everybody.
he
Yeah,
Oh,
you
he's
know
he
what I
doesn't.
blasting
mean.
He doesn't hold
everybody.
back at all. Yeah.
So I think of all his friends, Spins up is probably the most what
Yeah, he doesn't fuck
It's the
about, does he?
bulldog. He
Yeah,
real
just
he
one.
says
doesn't
what
fuck about.
everyone is thinking.
But I think Spins is saying what Lewis is probably saying
Quietly,
Yeah,
behind closed
what
doors.
everyone
quietly.
is
Like that's
thinking
what.
there. Yeah. That's true.
Don't forget as well, Thanos. Lewis doesn't really speak to Martin Brando anymore. Have you noticed how he ignores him
No, he
and shit
doesn't do
like?
grid interview. He's never done grid
No.
interviews, but he does speak to Brando. I mean,
Mm.
He speaks to
Yes,
Brando.
in interview.
It's
I think I think in interviews, basically, it's organized by Sky Sports, so he has to do.
Yeah. Not
Yes, so
like
he's
on the grid.
obligated.
He
Like
doesn't speak to
maybe
none of them.
those interviews on the
he's
grid
never
now.
done grid interviews.
He
He has
said he
never done
doesn't
grid.
like a great interview. I think Brando even said it himself that
I
he
don't
used
think
to.
he. I don't think he's ever done it. Even when he started in
I
'07, I
think when
don't
he
think
was
he's ever
small,
did.
when he started, because when Brando relayed it, it was probably in the context of him asking for it, and Lewis
Yeah,
just told him he doesn't do great
doesn't
interview,
do like yeah.
like that kind of stuff.
Anyway,
no, the people he doesn't talk to are usually Karoon or Di Resta, like the two that he don't fuck
the
with.
Oh
fuck that,
God,
fuck that ashy
Cameron,
elbow dude.
Cameron
That's
is
Someone
just
get Karun some lotion, man, for his
that
goddamn ashy
guy
elbows.
is.
Anyway,
That guy.
Sean,
Sometimes
you
I
asked
actually wonder what pops up in his head most of the time because
Kingsley.
go
it
on,
doesn't
Thanos.
even make
Kingsley,
sense.
we can't, Sean, we kind of went off in a tangent. So that was one of
Yeah,
your question about the said thing. What was the other
That's
one?
an
yeah.
in-house
The other bit was the Cost Cup. And I know you were touching on it. You and Kingsley, you went back and forth. I actually think I'm with Kingsley on that one. I don't think it's Red Bull, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're now talking about harsher penalties
That's
and
exactly what
whatnot.
I said.
So
Yes.
for me, I just feel when those kind of talks creep up, it's probably Ferrari
It's prob- I don't,
or
okay,
McLaren.
my argument for Ferrari is that that's Stefano Domenicali, so he's the Ferrari true and true. I don't think if it's Ferrari he'll be speaking. I'm more looking at Aston Martin, for example, maybe one of the teams that
Yeah,
I'm really really looking at probably that did that and they want to use them as an example.
Yeah, I could see Aston
Yes,
Martin.
and then they're telling
but
them.
have you guys also heard about the project Aston Martin and Red Bull are doing, which in fact is kind of giving them an advantage of knowing how these cars currently in these
Yeah,
regulations
because
work?
one of the
Mm.
cars newly designed for Aston was ground effects. The
The
Valkyrie, I think it
Valkyrie,
Oh
was
yeah, the Valkyrie.
yeah,
was ground
yeah.
effects.
This has been in the news for up to a month or so now. They have been saying that because at some point I think the FIA had to come up with some statement about if teams are doing other sports, for example, that you can transfer the technology into F1. They're trying to bring up regulation that will
Oh yeah,
also.
Toto was talking about
Well
that.
then
They said they're trying to.
that excludes Mercedes from it because Mercedes isn't active in any other motorsport
Projects.
series.
No,
Exactly.
they're not. Yeah.
Well,
So it's Red Bull and Aston Martin.
I think they're active in GT racing because
I think GT really. Yes, yes.
The SLS race competes in the GT
The
championship.
GT championship. Yeah, yeah. That's true.
Yeah, so it's Red Bull and Aston Martin who've got current projects right now with ground defects cars. So they are
And
the two.
Ferrari,
And
Have they?
Ferrari
No, they did.
just they just showed up.
they just won Le Mans, remember?
Yeah, I was just
Oh
And
yeah.
Le Mans cars tend to have a bit of ground effects in them.
in part
Oh
of it.
really?
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
okay. No, I didn't know.
because
Yeah.
4% started in in with GT Le Mans cars. That's where
Yeah.
it first that's
It first
where it
showed up.
first showed up.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was it from me, really, Thanos, man.
But imagine Ferrari breached the cost caps.
Time the assist low. Oh God, I would be.
Nah,
No, no,
don't
no,
say
no.
that,
That
man.
would
Don't
be.
say it.
I'm not gonna.
No way.
You
That
cheated
would.
and you
That would
still
be.
call. I mean, it's 2019 all over again. They
I know, but
cheated in
at least
2009 and still didn't
And
win.
it's still shit. Yeah.
oh God.
But whoever cheated though, whoever is gonna breach it, I'm supporting them really because
I
you
think
know
it's
what?
Red Bull.
Well,
I think it's Red
they
Bull
No,
because the
Red Bull.
principles. I think the principles that they use in 2021 carried over into
No, they pretty
2022.
much
they only
have
they
So
only
the
they
script
only get
for
a slap on the wrist
2021.
anyway, don't they? So it's
No,
not
they
like
pretty
they're gonna
much
get
have the script for 2021, so you can fail it twice. So they can basically
it.
so they,
really,
for example, the money they were
I
allocating
don't think they'll fail it
to
this time. I
feeding and
think
all
they'll do
that, they
well.
now know where to
Mm,
send it to, so that it
I
makes sense.
exactly.
I think it's Red Bull. I mean,
Well, I hope
look,
so. I hope you're right.
but then saying that, imagine if it was Mercedes and all the 40 people in the accounts department still fuck up. Jesus.
Now,
You have
if
you have 40
Mercedes,
people in the
Nah,
accounting department
if it
and
was
you still
Mercedes,
overspend.
if it was
we're getting
Mercedes,
we're
it pretty
getting
much would
cooked
have
on
leaked
Twitter.
by now.
And I
Oh
They
think
would
yeah,
not be. They would not be
And
guessing.
I think Harvard would have kicked Toto out. They would have removed the
In,
whatever they
yes,
gave him
yes.
because
A lot of
Harvard
people
Business
would have.
could be like, dude, how we gave you all of that,
How?
you still yeah. But I don't think I think Mercedes might be somewhat indicated. I don't think it's them,
No, no, no. It's
but
not the model doesn't fix the Mercedes
it's
doesn't
kind of
fix it.
funny. It's kind of funny the follow on from this league, like the statements coming from the FIA and from other people, like, oh, it's they deny. It's like it's the exact same shit you said last year.
oh yeah. They said
It's the
last year
same.
it's
It's
nothing.
the same script played out last year. They
That
denied.
and you know
They
someone has
denied
done it.
it, and then
That's when you know
eventually,
somebody's done it. Yeah,
exactly. If it's coming, and especially if it's Amos, I call him Amos, Auto Motor und
yeah.
Sport. If
More reliable, I
if
think.
they're
Yeah,
reporting it, then it's more likely
It's
it's true
probably in line. Yes,
because last
yeah.
year they were one of
they were bank on their information.
yeah, and they
So
were one of the first
the first one to do it.
publications
Yeah.
to break the news. So it's
Yeah.
very likely it is true. And them saying the FIA is saying now, oh, we've only just finished the auditing. Yeah, I don't believe them.
Don't, don't
Yeah,
forget Thanos.
okay. I think if you listen the FI statement, for me, what I pick from it is usually they finish the auditing. So if they have questions, they send it back to the team to get
That's
feedback
right.
from. I think that's what they're just pretty much doing.
Back and forth.
So
Yeah, that's right.
from what they already have, they would know pretty much who is over
Who's
budget
done
and
it?
who isn't,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then just give us explanation for this before we go to the next phase. And that's pretty much.
Correct. Yeah.
I think
And
it's Red Bull.
even it was
it would
talk about Red
it
Bull. I
would
know
be.
Chris and Horner and Helmet talked about 6 teams, didn't they? Like last month before this news break. Remember they
Yeah.
said about 6 teams. So I thought they were pretty much covering their backs already. Sounds like what they were saying
No,
from last
last
year
year they said
again.
it was
Mm.
6 teams, and I think this year they said the same that they
Yeah.
think
This
teams
what
are
I'm
gonna
saying. So
breach a cap. So so the whole
If they fail
storyline
the
is the
exam,
same as
if they
last
fail the
year.
same exam twice, and there's something has to be
Well,
wrong.
then if you fail the
ah
same
no, they
if you
have to
fail
take
the
the
same
championship
exam
away.
twice, you're basically well. Then again, I'm done because I failed the same exam twice, and so I didn't like the subject anyway, so I just
Yeah,
failed it twice.
that's different. This one you have the answer script in your hand, so it's different. At least they have the marking scheme for it. So
Yeah, I don't. But I think I'd be. This is what I want. If it's, I'd be I'm saying it's Red Bull
What would you like
because
to happen, sir?
it'd be interesting to see what the punishment's gonna be because you're a second time offender.
Okay.
You're a
repeat
second
offender.
you're
Okay,
being a
that's
repeat.
what you are hoping it's Red Bull, but like
No, they'll just slap the
But
other
yeah,
that's what I'm
like
ones.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
like
If it turns out to be Red Bull, which it is, and then what you can't then turn around. The teams are then going to be looking like at the FA like, hold on, they did it last year. You gave them a slap on the wrist. They've done it again this year. We're looking for you to actually expel them from the championship. If not expel them from the championship, you're going to give them a fine that will affect the budget, affect their wind tunnel safety, and points deduction as well. Send them into the season with a negative 60-point deduction before the season even start. But no, not
that is
60.
that
60,
is a wish
that's too little bit
that's
because that would be
a
wiped off.
wish list.
That would be wiped off within 2 races. So you
I
send them into the
bet.
season with a minus 100-point deduction.
Yeah. In the same,
You have
but
because
yes,
because you have to set an example because if doing it a second time, that means They don't give a shit. They're looking
Yeah,
at you like,
here's where I see it going to. Where's why I think it's not Red Bull. And Sean already said that piece for me. But more than that, when you have the FIA and Formula One, everyone saying the other, just like 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, we cannot punish a team for developing their car better than the rest. We can do X, Y, and Z. And then 2 weeks later, they're saying, oh, we have to punish whoever break the cost cap. You can pretty much take Red Bull out of it. It's not Red Bull. And so then,
um,
and
we're gonna disagree on this one.
yeah,
It's
we are
Red Bull.
disagreeing on this one. I don't think it's them. I think it's a lesser team for which a championship is not at stake for them. So if they remove points from them, it pretty much just cement where they will
Yeah,
be in terms of constructor, and it doesn't make any difference. If it's a team that it will make a difference to a championship winning team, then I think they pretty much just give a sporting a first financial fine and then move on from it. That's
yeah,
what I think.
but again, if it's a repeat offender, again like Red Bull, they can't just give them a
Oh no, no,
sporting,
no. Yeah,
a
I think the
lenient fine
pressure, of course,
again,
the
a
pressure
lenient
will be
penalty
on
again.
them. The pressure will be on them to go for a harsher punishment. If it's
But the
Red Bull,
pressure was on them last year to give a very
it
harsh
wasn't really. They had to
penalty.
water it down to some numbers, and
But that's what I'm saying. The pressure was on them last year to give a harsh penalty, and they're basically chickens. They got cold feet because Ross Brown said if you breach your cap, you're going to lose your championship. He pretty
but
much
you can
said it.
argue too that within the regulation, what they did was not outside of the regulation.
Yeah,
Basically, they have options. They have
they chose the
they
most
choose the
lenient
least, yes, of
ones
course, the most
within
lenient
those
one. But
options.
then again, you cannot argue why was that kind of leniency built in. That's what Zach Brown was arguing in McLaren, that why would you build that kind of leniency into the process in the first place? You can argue that, but at least they had a leniency place to work with in the current regulation. Unlike, for example, 2021, where there was nothing at all in the rule book that says that, and somebody invented it. They didn't invent anything in this case, so you can argue that. But I believe it's another thing that it doesn't make it.
It's Red Bull, and don't
Okay,
argue with me. It's
we can
Red Bull.
agree to
No,
disagree.
we're not going to agree on disagree on nothing. It's Red Bull.
It's
You have to agree it's Red Bull. You disagree, you're gonna get blocked. It's Red Bull.
Red Bull and who?
I don't care.
exactly.
Red Bull and
Red Bull and
AlphaTauri. Red Bull.
wait. AlphaTauri broke the record
No
in the cost
way.
cap too.
I
Oh
mean,
God!
imagine.
And then
But
they still have
can you?
that kind of shitty car.
But I mean, it's no different to if Ferrari break it and still have a shitty
No, at
car,
least
isn't
it's
it? So,
different. Because here's the point: if you were a Haas, for example, why not just break the rule and build a monster car,
But
whatever?
Haas don't have any money, so
Yeah, that's the point.
they don't have any money.
They don't have any money.
They don't
Yeah,
have any money. So
I'm looking for
so what are they
a
gonna
lower
break?
team, for example, that has the money. For example, Williams, for example, they probably
Williams
have.
don't have the money either.
Why would they not have the money? They were taken over from by a new team. They probably have some money. If they're
Williams don't
asking
have
to
the money.
build, they're asking to build new wind tunnel and whatnot, for example. At least there must be money coming in for them to be thinking in that direction. So build a car, take the
Is Darlington, what's it? Darlington, whatever Darlington cap, whatever the name
capital,
is.
yeah, the
Are they
team.
gonna put that sort of money in?
Yeah, that's the
Mm,
number. So if you can do that, then you take the pain for this
yeah,
year, and then next year you basically
I
have a
don't see,
monster
I
Africa.
don't see them putting in that sort of money where they're gonna build a wind tunnel. You know how expensive a wind tunnel is?
No,
There's no way they're gonna do
sorry,
it.
Not right
no.
away.
James his voice was already saying it that they need that kind of infrastructure and other things. So
Yeah,
they are
but
trying
then
to, because there was a report that they were trying. From what he's saying, there was a report with the paddock that the FI is already looking into taking that aspect out of the cost cap so that smaller teams can develop infrastructures to meet up. Because that's what he's pretty much been saying, that smaller teams cannot develop infrastructure because they are handicapped with the cost cap. And other,
which is what we said in the beginning,
exactly
that
what
if
we're
you
saying before.
implementing a cost cap
Yes. So you
won't
have
change
built in,
anything because
yes,
the big
you have
teams have an infrastructure
infrastructure
advantage.
advantage already built
Like,
in, and then they can simply so smaller things done. So I think the FI they're trying to move in that direction. How can we basically allow smaller teams to develop their infrastructures, and why not allowing it to also affect the budget cap that they are operating in? And at the end of the day, it might work out for them. So
yeah,
give them.
I don't think Williams owner is gonna put that sort of money in the team.
Hey,
I don't.
Panos,
Yeah, what's up, Diplo?
I have something that we can speculate on
Go on.
versus, well, I mean, we're all speculating anyways,
Yeah,
but
we are thinking.
wasn't there one team whose CEO is no longer a CEO and they're a works team and they have the budget to do certain things?
Oh, is that? Oh, they fired that dude
Maybe
left.
what
That dude
but
left.
what I'm
Was it
saying
Rossi? He left
What if
Alpine.
it's Alpine? What if it's
Yeah,
Alpine?
Alpine.
And they're just getting ahead of it. It
Oh
could be.
shit!
It could. It's possible too. Alpine could be.
Because
Yeah,
So
why else
that's a
would they
good
make the
point, really.
CEO,
Yeah.
like, because
Yeah.
if it happened under his leadership, that's something that a CEO would get voted out of that position and sent elsewhere for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is
And they're
just
bringing
speculation.
upgrade again I think
I'm not,
in Park, for example. So
well, and I'm not going to pretend I have sources or anything, but I'm saying, like, if we're looking for teams that, like, an additional team on top of whoever we already think it could be,
Red Bull.
Alpine's definitely one of
oh
them. I
yes,
mean, they're
I agree
they're a
with you.
works
F1
team,
Diplo. Yes,
and
Alpine too.
they have the
Actually didn't
money.
occur to me. Yeah, they had the money.
Yeah,
It
and
could also be
maybe
McLaren.
maybe, but maybe they're
Yeah,
just staying ahead of it too.
any of them. Yes. The only reason why I'm removing Mercedes is because it's not. They're a
Toto
brand.
went to Harvard. Toto has a Harvard Business School, whatever he is. So I mean,
Yeah,
he's
they will
yeah.
probably call the degree
He,
back if he does that. So
they teach them how to hide money, so he should be able to hide money fine.
oh, they don't teach him how to build a fast car. That's tough.
But he's not an engineer. They teach him how to hide money. He's the money
Yeah.
man, so he knows how to hide the money.
That's the right
So
one.
they're not gonna catch him. So
Um,
they probably spent 200 million. He figured a way how to hide 60 million of it. So insider trading,
That's my dog.
insider trading. You know what I mean?
And what's the prediction for this weekend then, guys?
Lewis
Where do
wins.
we see us?
Lewis is gonna win. I don't care
That's
about
bold.
anybody else.
it's pretty much my prediction from here going forward. Like from
Lewis
Silverstone,
is gonna win every.
it's just Lewis
Lewis
gonna
is
win.
gonna win
Yes, Lewis
every
gonna win.
race.
Lewis
There's
gonna win
what?
every race.
There's what? 22 races left. Lewis is gonna win the remaining 12 races of
12
the season
races, yeah. So pretty much.
straight.
Hey, we're one max DNF away from being in contention at
Oh
least, because you know what Checo is gonna be. So
Checo's
We're
not gonna
gonna
make Q3 again if it rains on Saturday
if that
when
fuck
they're
if
expecting
that
rain.
I swear to God, if he doesn't make Q3 this weekend, Helmut should go down and slap him.
the
I'm what?
the
No, seriously, if he doesn't make Q3 this weekend, Helmut should say, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna put the freeze in the car. Get out, because I'm sure he would have made Q3 in
and,
that.
oh
Well,
god.
what if Ricardo outqualifies him?
Oh shit.
Ricardo's gonna go out from Q1. That is
No, but
They're gonna
but
swap him.
Perez is
Are they
gonna
gonna
go out
swap
from
him over
Q1 as well.
as well, but that's
But
AlphaTauri.
Perez going on Q1 as well. So imagine, but I mean, for real though, imagine if he gets all qualified by Ricciardo this weekend. That's
Okay, that would be.
embarrassing. That's
No,
embarrassing.
he was already being qualified by Yuki, for example.
Williams.
So the Williams. So what I would say, it's not. I don't think Ricardo would be any different from that. So
But Ricciardo is a bum. I mean,
Well, it's just the narrative, really. That's what it is. Because
yes, the narrative that
like
just
the
came
the
out.
nuance will be understood, right? Like, let's say there's an issue or whatever, but it's the narrative. Oh, Danny Rick came back after a
And
year
then
and
yeah.
outqualified Checo, and then they're
I
gonna
mean,
be
it's
like,
always the narrative. We saw George and Lewis last year.
yeah, but
Everyone that was watching the season could tell which one was the better driver, but because George would get a safety car or some kind of crazy luck like DRS in qualifying, people are like, "Oh, George is the new man at
And they
Mercedes." I mean, you only
transferred it
need to.
into this year. Lewis and
I'm
George
just glad.
is
You
pretty
don't
much the
hear
only
it as
driver
much.
they were comparing last season till now on points differences. There was no
I,
that driver on the grid they were comparing that way. They were saying,
I'm
oh,
just
but
glad this weekend they can't use that stat.
they can't use that.
They
Yes, you
can't
can
use
imagine.
it.
It was crazy. Every other driver comparing on the grid, they were not comparing them based on the points you scored from last year till now. It was just Lewis and George only to tell
so
you
so
what the narrative is
as
that they were setting out. Basically.
as a very walking on eggshell George Russell fan here, I
Boo.
will say, burn me at the stake. I will say that in a way, I think as much as it sucks to hear the bullshit, sorry, Thanos, I don't know if I can curse or not. As much as it sucks to see the stupid narrative that these pundits are putting out there, it's ultimately a testament to Lewis's legacy and his experience and performance and ability, because that's really who they have as still the benchmark for the Mercedes car, but also that's who they're talking about, even though Max is dominating a season. So I'm trying
No,
to be
here's
Even
where
Red
humble
Bull's still
here.
worried
I
about
understand what you're
Lewis.
saying, F1. Here's where it's disingenuous for me. So you had periods, for example, where Lewis and Bottas were teammates, and then Lewis is ahead of him, and then I pretty much believe they would not, now that Lewis is ahead, they are not going to use that start again. That tells you it was pretty much disingenuous. If it was a serious start to use, I would not even complain. For example, head to
Yeah,
head
well,
on
yeah.
qualifying, head to head on
But
race.
even the head-to-head in qualifying they got wrong because
They
they
got
had
it
it
wrong.
six
Okay,
four to
that one I
George.
can't actually blame Sky Sports on that because it was in the world feed, which it was coming from Formula One
Yeah,
themselves.
but it was
You can
shown on Friday. It was shown on Friday, and it was shown on Saturday.
yes, it
Yeah,
was
they got the
because
Ferrari wrong as well. Sainz and Leclerc, they got that
Leclerc,
one
okay,
wrong.
exactly.
So
So
yeah.
basically, that one I can. But for this one, that one I blame because it was pretty much their own start. How can you take race from last year to now to compare two drivers? You're saying
It's a
it,
Jenson Button stat. I mean,
yes,
Jenson Button
it
is more
completely
famous for
doesn't make
beating
any sense
Lewis.
at all. You compare to the season, the current season.
Look,
How far are you going to
Jenson
go
Button's
to
greatest
compare?
achievement is beating Lewis Hamilton, not winning the world championship.
Yes, beating him,
That's his
and
greatest
that's just
achievement.
one season. So if you check over the course of
You
the
could say the
entire,
same for Nico Rosberg.
yeah,
Yeah, but you can't use. But you said that you can't use the point system for Nico, right? But the
No,
thing
Nico
is for
took the championship.
but the thing is Jensen, they're using the point system for Jensen
yeah,
because every time they bring up the comparison, Jensen scored more points than Lewis. So while
Lewis, yeah.
over the time as teammate,
Over 2 seasons.
like
But
I
you
didn't
know,
know Formula One is a 3-season
for
championship.
me, kind of again being the
George
odd
fan.
one, yes, being the odd one out. I firstly want to say, at least from my perspective, I don't speak on behalf of the entire fandom, like some George profiles here. The reason when I get happy when George does well is because his benchmark is Lewis, and he has the chance to showcase his pace ability. He's not faster than Lewis, but the fact that he's consistently close,
Yes.
like track over track, I think that that's just a testament to his ability to drive a car, and then he can only
Wow,
grow from there.
Bao
Now, I'm not.
Bottas didn't get that sort of.
Maybe it's because they want to punch Lewis when he's down. But here's what I do want to say. Okay, I think that the media, the punditry, and all that, I think they know what they're doing, and they're trying to rile the fan bases up because they want, to punch Lewis when he's down, when he's not in a championship fight, and they want him to sort of not have the energy or the capacity to try to challenge when he's able to. So I think we have to be careful. We have our fun here in the spaces, but kind of going at each other's throats over Lewis and George or whatever, I think that's exactly what these people want. They want that inner team divisiveness. You know what I mean? And so we have to,
I don't have a problem with George beating Lewis any given day. If he's the faster driver, he can do that. I don't think Lewis needs to prove himself in the sport anymore.
100%.
He's already shown what he can do. That's not my problem. I couldn't care less. If George is faster on the weekend and he beats Lewis, that's the name of the game.
Exactly.
It's fair.
I mean, exactly. It's like he's not gonna. He's not in a situation where his teammate again is Perez or Kovalainen. He
Exactly.
has better
He
teammates.
has
So
better teammates.
to expect he's gonna beat George every single weekend is
It's
pretty
pretty much,
much it's
I
a
mean, out of the pale.
stupid.
Even as horrible as Perez is, he still win races against Max Verstappen, for example. So George is not even in Perez's category. He's way out of his league.
Oh,
He's
Yeah,
George is
yeah,
better than Perez.
oh,
we got the
100% agree with you.
strongest pair on that grid. We got the strongest pair with Lewis and George. That's just it. There's no team with a better pairing than we have. Two
Yes,
very fast
if you want
drivers.
to, here's my point. If you want to compare drivers, you can just compare them on a season, for example. If you are reaching far into previous season to bring the points to compare that George's high had better points, there's an agenda already. That's my point.
Of course, but
It
the
just
agenda it's meant to get people pissed off and fighting, disagreeing among each other too. And
Yeah, but
I
Well,
the
don't,
thing is,
I don't think that that's a direct.
do
Oh,
you
sorry.
really want to get in a fight with the fan base of the driver who is the most successful driver in the sport?
it's not even
No,
fair
but
to
but but
George. It's not
That's
even
not
no,
fight
fair
no,
you're
to
gonna
George.
win.
It's
but
unfair
it's
to
not.
George himself at the end of the day because you basically are making it look like okay, this is agenda and everybody's layering on it, and then the guy that's generally doing a great job as a driver, even if I don't like him, since he went to go and slap Bottas's helmet in I don't know where that race was. I never liked him from there. I think he was
Imola
Imola. Yeah, he was rude. That from
2021.
then on, I was having problem with his attitude. So that's where I don't like it. But if on a
Yeah,
given weekend, if he's very fast and he beats Lewis, that's fair game. It's fine.
Jeddah this year.
Exactly. Generally, this year, he's
yeah.
pretty much faster and he wins races, or he qualify ahead of him. That's pretty much fine. It's the name of the game. But if you're going to
I,
draw statistics from last year, you might as
Cumulative.
well go to 2021 then, or 2020, whatever the timeline is, and then
No,
Put it this
I
way.
with,
But
but
put it
with
this
that,
way, Kingsley. If they're gonna do that, then we can say, well, Lewis didn't really lose to Nico Rosberg, then did he? Because he scored more
exactly. So you
points
can go back to
than
the
him
previous
over the
year and
time as
then
teammates.
yes, and just pick points and say Lewis has more points than him, basically.
yeah, but that's just.
I think the.
I think.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Diplo.
Sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think what gets lost in the whole translation is that it's whoever's coming up with those. They know what they're doing, and I don't think they're
I agree with
fans
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
necessarily
they
of.
read the timeline. They read
yeah,
Twitter.
very true.
These guys
I
all
don't.
read Twitter. They know
Well,
what
yeah,
they
They
the
can
know how
gauge
to
young guys
generate.
what the
like
Yeah.
atmosphere is like and
Russell,
what's the talking points, and then
this
just
is
Palmer.
this is
do
what
it.
this is what I actually makes me angry most of the time. You don't have to tweet anything like that for you to generate conversation about Lewis. You can genuinely say the right thing and you will still get the same amount of engagement. So why do you want to manufacture something that doesn't even exist in the first place? If you are comparing all the drivers on the grid on that same metric, I would understand, okay, that's what they're doing. But if it's just one team only, so why not bring maybe another driver in for another team pairing, for example, and then do the same thing? No, you're doing it for just a single team. That's where my anger comes from.
Because they can do the
Like,
same thing to show how badly Perez
yeah,
is performing against Max, but they
Against
won't
Max,
do
for
it
yeah.
example, yes.
Like
because
King,
it would look reflect negatively not just on Perez but also on Max.
On Max,
yeah,
exactly.
Kingsley. I think Diplo makes a good point as well. Just enlarging on that. Notice who Karun always fights with. It's always Lewis fans, isn't it? That's that's the people you always argue with or block or whatever. The
No,
last four.
Karun is, I
He's
don't know,
something else, him.
is
To be
something
honest with you,
else.
but
He,
But
Current
but
Well,
but
mentioning.
okay, it goes back to even off season 2021, right? I don't want to touch on AD or whatever, but Max won the championship, asterisk, right? Let's say. What was the talk about over the off season? Nobody was talking about Max. Everyone was talking about whether Lewis is coming back to the sport or not.
which is
hmm
fair.
Lewis,
That's a
no, no,
fair.
no,
That's a fair
no, no, no.
question.
My point is, even when he's not winning,
He's still winning.
he's still the like
The
the talk of
conversation.
F1, and that's why even now when he's not challenging for a championship and he has a somewhat competitive teammate, or I would say competitive because I like the driver, right? I like George. Now that's why they're doing that. They're still talking about him because anything with Lewis Hamilton in a headline will get clicks. And that's why they're doing it. So they have to come up with reasons to put a headline up there, right? It's not an organic thing. I agree to say, okay, well, let's look back 52 weeks. Where were the drivers? What are the total cumulative points? That's like you're looking for a headline. You're digging into the hat and you're picking up a headline on a little piece of paper, and you're like, okay, now let's find a statistic that makes this headline
Oh
true.
yes, I believe that's what they do. They just
So
sit
that's what I
down.
meant with they're
Yeah,
saying
what
is that
statistics is
they're using it.
George better compared to Lewis? And they will say, okay, he had used more tires in Q1 than okay, write it, and then they just put it there. They look reaching. So now that that start is gone, I'm eagerly looking forward to what they will write again in Hungary.
Hey, but I will add one thing though is it might just be me speaking for me, but I feel like that talk gets to George more than it probably gets to any other driver because he believes his own hype. And we've seen that in some races when the team will be like, "Hey George, we need you to hold position, hold Max up." And he's like, "No, I want soft tires. Give me soft tires." That's the issue that I think I'm having now because I think George is quick enough to be fine without trying to establish himself
in
at the
in
cost
in
of
his
Lewis.
defense, as not a George fan, that's obvious from here. In his defense, I will want my driver to. If you are racing against Lewis, you will want to get every advantage that you can get, and that is not. I don't want to spite the driver for asking for that. I think that's where the team will now come in and say, okay, here's what we do here. And for example,
And Merck has been bad at that.
yes,
Which is why I said I didn't have a problem with what George did
yes,
in
asking for
Zandvoort
this.
last year.
You can push the
He
envelope
was well within his right to
to
do
ask
that.
for it.
My
Yes,
issue was with what
the team
the team, because
acquiescing.
they
Yes,
went
yeah.
against their own policies because they've always said the driver in front gets the call on strategy, and they would never put them
An
after
alternative
the stops
strategies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on
they
alternative
apologized for that,
strategies.
Thanos. You're right. Yeah,
So
they were
so
wrong. Mm.
so if George asks for something, I don't. Bottas did it. I
Yeah.
remember in Portugal 2020 after Lewis, I think Lewis stopped and he got the hard tires, and Bottas
He
went,
wanted to
"Oh,
go to alternative strategy.
yeah,
Yes.
can I get the soft tires or whatever
And
it
the
is?" And
test.
the team
Yeah.
was like, "No, sorry, we
No.
can't do that
No.
because we
Your
already
teammate
gave Lewis
already
the
on
hard
this one.
tires,
Yeah.
so we're not going to do that." So I don't have a problem because everyone's trying to get as much
Yeah, of
advantage,
course, of course. I don't have
all the
problem with
advantage they can. So I'd have a problem if he just sat there and just like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit here like a good boy in the corner and
that.
just,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
It tells you
like
he's
Mexico
ambitious.
2021.
Yes,
He's
he's ambitious. Yeah. Mm. And that's what I actually like about him in a way, because I believe
But
that
he's still a Tory though.
Yes, of course, already agreed. If Lewis is no longer in the sport, I believe that if Mercedes has a good car, he can take the fight to Max. That is, I believe that he has the pace. Whether
Yeah.
he will be consistent enough to do it over a season, time
I
will
mean,
tell.
Oh,
he's
we
rough.
saw that
We've
in
seen him
Barcelona,
rough.
didn't we?
Yeah, we've
Barcelona
seen
last
him
year, didn't it?
rough up Max in Barcelona and
Oh,
Brazil
he
last
did.
year.
He did.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but then again,
and
you
he
can
I
argue
and he
that
did it this year.
Mass pretty much knew
I will
he
say
have the edge over him.
I will say, aside from Lewis, I think George is the only other driver right now that Max genuinely
yeah,
fears if he has to go wheel to wheel with him. I think Charles is fast, but I think he's proven himself to make the unforced error
I don't think
time and
Red
time
Bull
again.
fears Ferraris
Sometimes,
at all.
yeah.
well, yeah, it's a
I
team
think
thing. I
Alonso
think
could give him trouble with the right car.
No, I don't
he
think
Mm,
Ferrari. I don't think Alonso will reach Max
Alonso don't have the pace.
to
Well,
fight Max.
George,
No, he doesn't.
George won the yield to him. That's for sure. George is not gonna be the yield of.
George
George is
gets
gonna be like,
on
yes,
his
let's fucking
skin.
crush
Yes,
them.
he
That's what
gets
he
on his.
is.
You remember? You see what happened in Baku? In fact, George
Yeah.
was on his skin. You could tell there's something
Oh,
about
he
George
did.
that rise him up. Yeah, so that's it. And George is already
well,
playing
do
that
you
game to his
remember?
advantage, basically.
Do you remember the first time they came together in Barcelona last
Yeah.
year?
Hmm.
And then in the press conference, Max was like, "I think I was in his blind spot. I don't think he sees me." And then the camera, you just see George kind of like
Yeah,
smirk, and
like
then
I
he
saw
catches
you, guy.
himself. He's like, "No, I knew you were there."
I was
You
just
know, and
pushing you
it's
there.
just, yeah, yeah. He's like, "I knew," but he kind of looks sideways at Max
Yeah,
and kind of smirks, and then he's like, "Oh shit, I'm on TV." You know, he's like,
yeah.
serious
And
face.
what I don't like
Um,
is this media thing, trying to, I know Max is driving well, respect whatever it is. He's got a good car. He's driving well, effortless. He's just on top form right now. But this idea that somewhere somehow is grown up, he's not gonna crash, man, that's bullshit. You, you,
No,
We saw that this
yeah.
last weekend.
Mhm. Where
I mean,
even
we
a
saw
I
game
what
last
never,
happened
week.
I
in
have
A
Austria.
game
never
last week.
believed
He was
that for a
playing a
second.
game last week that he just leathered into someone and he got disqualified. What's that about? I
Yeah.
mean, it's
No,
crazy. He's a crazy guy. Yeah.
the truth is, I've
no,
never
he's
believed
he, he he's still
the new
he
mass persona that he's changed or whatever. The only reason why you're not saying it is because he doesn't have competition. If Max has
Exactly.
competition, those things that he does, you don't unlearn them in a season. They're still in there,
Look at
basically.
look at Brazil last year or Abu Dhabi
Exactly. In fact, he
qualifying when he
actually
almost
came
turned
out
into
and said
Lewis.
after all, Lewis didn't win the race after he actually crashed into him, almost as if it was a badge of honor. Like, well, he lost the race to tell you how petty he is when he comes. I feel that the only person on the grid right now that he's most afraid of is Lewis and Mercedes, and then to a lesser extent George, but especially Lewis, because anytime he comes to any part of a track and Lewis is there, it doesn't matter if he's doing an out lap or an in lap or whatever. There's something about the presence of Lewis that continually blows him up, and you can see him reacting to it in real time and basically
Hmm.
just around.
there's still a little bit of a maturity gap. I agree. I mean, you look at Brazil last year, and then just the way he reacted with his own team and
I mean,
teammate
the
when he
dude's
was part
25
of.
years. He's 25 years
And he
old. He's
has
a
been what?
Yeah, but
stepfather.
How long has he been
he's
in the sports?
What kind of?
he's almost
9 years or more.
veteran
Is it
wise.
not?
Yeah, almost.
Yeah. So all we keep talking about immature.
Nine.
He's 25.
If you
He's a
spend nine
stepfather at
years
25. What immature is
That's
immature?
just
if
how
you spend nine
that's
years
just
in
how it's
any
gonna be.
job,
That's not
you are
gonna
no
change.
longer a rookie or
But
whatever. You are mature.
even was it the British GP? Was it last year or 2021? Where he like was literally driving Nick off the road for P7 or
It
P9
was
or
last
whatever.
year. It was last year.
Last year, right? So
Nick,
like we
yeah.
still see the tendencies of him kind of being in a
That's
way,
not going anywhere.
It's not going
like
anywhere.
it's
A
Yeah,
like
look
leopard
he's
how
never
still.
changes
look
its
how he
spot.
raised Mick Schumacher and Silverstone last year as well. Remember, he was pushing him all
Yeah,
over
he
the
was
track.
driving him off the
Yeah, he's
line.
driving
It's
him off
just
the
like,
line. Yeah.
Look,
yeah.
a
So
leopard never
there's
changes its spot. Max is not going to change. He's still the same person.
Nah, he's just got a good car right now.
You just need to put him in a situation where it
2021,
comes out. It comes
2021
out.
again, and then you will see him unraveling with
I
time.
mean, I know you hear him talking about retiring.
Oh,
That dude is not seeing out
I
that
don't
Nah,
believe
5 year
that.
contract.
I don't
No,
believe that.
no. Trust me, he's not going to see out that 5 year contract. He's not going to be here until 2028.
I
He's
think
going to
I
retire.
think I think if 2026 comes around and Red Bull doesn't have a competitive car,
He'll probably
he
go.
will switch off. He will not be in the sport.
Yeah,
He
he'll
will
go.
leave. He's already said it in so many words that it depends on what the car does, which means he's already
Yeah,
looking forward to if the car performs. If the car is
yeah.
not, if he's fighting in midfield like Mercedes is doing right now, he will not do a Lewis. He will just get out.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
because
well,
if he did that, he's going to crash more often. So
And
he
not just
doesn't
that,
want
I
to.
don't think he yeah, crashed more often. I actually believe he's living his father's dream. I don't think he's okay with driving maybe Sims and all that stuff. And he's already won championship, which is what he says. Like basically, that is what I've came here to do. I've done that. Every other thing is just an added advantage bonus to him. So if he feels he has already fulfilled what his father's asked him to do, he can just go on and do some other things that he wants to do for himself. So if
well,
Red Bull doesn't have a
but
competitive car, he's gone. No.
there's levels to it too. I mean, right? Like you win a championship, two, maybe three this year. Obviously, it's looking like he's going to get another
Mhm.
one. But it's one thing to now kind of go through what Lewis is going through, and what other
Yes, they'll
great
tell you.
drivers in the sport
Mhm.
where the car and the team might not always work in your
Mhm.
favor, and that's I think a true challenge for all of these drivers that are already champions. Okay, well,
Respond to that.
how do
Yeah.
they respond? And in a way, Alonso doesn't get much love right here, but I would argue that it's interesting to see the fire that he still has to want to win and compete, but he's not doing it in a way where I would say it's beneficial to
no.
whatever team he just wants to go to a good team
Yes.
and race.
Alonso's fire
He
is
doesn't want to
because
build a team or develop, right? Like we've seen him burn so many
Bridges, of course.
bridges. And even now, even this season when he was asked, they're like, "Well, Aston Martin's kind of dropping off the pace. What do you think that could be?" And he's like, "I don't know, you have to
You have
ask
to ask
them,"
them, yeah.
referring to
And a
Aston
couple
Martin.
of races ago,
So
he was saying
he's that
something.
kind of
Yeah,
guy.
I agree with you.
But,
I think the point about Mas was that even after 2021, I remember it was in Michael that came out and said Mas cannot have a season like that again, and that tells you the mental toll that he had on him. And people were saying, "No, Mas didn't say it. He didn't have to say it. The people
No,
that
he
really,
said it was too much for him, didn't he? He said
yes, yes,
I can't race like that again.
like that, yes." So that
Yeah,
tells you the
because I
mental
think in the
strength.
last four races, he
He
was getting
just
his ass
you know,
ended. That's what
Lewis
was happening.
Lewis destroyed
Mm.
everything that Red Bull
Yeah,
had.
that's it.
Yes, a
Yeah, he was
complete.
getting his ass ended in the last
Oh,
four
I
races. But
remember the Abu
yeah,
Dhabi race before the safety car. It was a Christian Ono was on Sky, and they were asking him. He said, "Well,
what
barring
the miracle, didn't
a miracle, Lewis
he?
is
He go,
basically winning it." Yes, he
yeah,
basically the last four races, Mercedes came with a completely different arrangement, and they just blowing Red Bull out left and right
yeah, they
center.
were
So
blowing them away.
yeah,
Yeah,
if Mans had to race another season like that's why 2022 was painful for me because Lewis, we know he has the mental fortitude to race like that for 10 years in a row. There was no way Mans could have stood that scrutiny, and they
yeah.
knew it. And that was why 2021 was basically it was a holiday for him. He went on a sightseeing somewhere, just blew out races, and then won championship. It was just easy. If 2025 comes, 2026 rather comes back, and Red Bull doesn't have a car that can compete like that,
He is
I
probably
can
going.
genuinely see him walking away from the sport. Basically.
Yeah. To be honest though, Kingsley, he's doing well. I know
Oh
there's
yes, he
this notion
is.
that people always say, "Oh, you got a faster car, that's why he's winning."
No, you still need a
Listen,
driver after all.
he's proven that wrong now. For
Yes,
people who
I've
used to
never
say
taken
that
that
about
away from
Lewis,
him.
he's got exceptional talent. He's a
If
quick
if
driver,
if
and
you
he's
come
very
to the
consistent.
grids right
No,
now,
Very
well,
consistent.
we're seeing the hypocrisy in his statements now, aren't we?
and
Oh
no,
yeah,
Because
but what were you
because
expecting him to say?
because his argument was anybody can win in a
in
No,
faster
that
but
race,
car, and
yeah.
he's just
what were you
proving.
expecting him to say, for example?
Mm,
In a way, I don't
nothing.
begrudge him for saying that because if you are
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
that
for
you
real.
cannot beat Lewis in a similar car, you must well pack your pack and go home. He can say that, but then let's prove it. If you have the same car, we saw it happen in 2021, and then the difference was still the driver. So in a way, yeah, He has to say that as a racing driver, you have to have that level of
Yeah.
arrogance. And by
Even
then,
Lando was saying that. Lando Norris was saying that anyone
oh,
can win in that match.
Lando
Yeah.
Norris is. I don't think he takes the sport seriously. That's one driver.
While we listening to what Orlando says, he couldn't even listen to his own team.
Well, you mean is
He
that in
listened, he'd
Sochi?
have a win.
In Sochi, is it?
Yeah, he was seeing the wind. He was seeing the checkered flag, and he was seeing Lewis on his mirror. In his
He was
defense,
very rude
he
as
had
well to his
had
team. He
Lewis
was
for
very
most of
rude
the
to his team,
race,
wasn't
and then the rain coming. He was wondering, "No, I can ride this out." So I really can't blame him in that situation. But anyway, it was one of those things that could happen to the driver.
I do
Oh,
think George Russell is way, way better than Lando, though, to be honest with you, in my own opinion. I
oh,
think Russell is much better driver than Lando.
I would, yes, for me, as an overall roundup driver, I would pick George ahead of Lando any day of the week
Mm.
because if his racecraft, his communication with his team, his
Yeah,
daring to take decisions by himself, all of
yeah.
that add up to a winning strategy. That's not Lando doesn't have that. He just have the car, he drives it around. When he's told something, he say, "Oh yeah, okay, okay," and then just goes on. So
Or
in a
he
way, I
mocks
would
his
pick.
team when they make a decision, don't he? He's always rude to them as well.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
Well, most drivers does that if they are not. If you listen to Yuki's radio, you would want to switch it off completely. So I can't really
No,
blame.
they did tell him to tame it down because they were going to fire him for that, weren't they?
Oh yes, in fact, they actually
Yeah.
went. They were looking for a
No,
therapist for
Marco
him
said
at some
he's
point. They
talking to a
asked him for him to
therapist.
see
Yeah,
therapy. Yeah, it was very
which is a completely
Anger
messed up
management.
thing to
anger
do.
management. Yeah, they like
Yeah, but that's still completely messed up to publicly
yes,
throw your driver like that
disagree.
because it's
It
like,
was.
and Marco is just that
If it wasn't
that
for
anyway,
Honda, they
guys.
slow
would have. If
grandpa.
it wasn't for Honda, they would have fired him that first season. I don't think he would have. He
So
would have did the
do
same
you
thing that
think
I,
happened
I,
to De Vries right
I
now.
don't think it's the first season. Probably last season they probably would have ditched him.
But the
But
first season
anyway,
too, it wasn't that good either.
the
So,
first season was not that bad. But anyway, guys, we've been here a long time. I think I'm gonna call it a night. I'm tired. I'm hungry,
but
and
I
I
don't want to
what?
say what I want to say, but okay, okay.
But what? Say what? What are you gonna say?
That you went for dinner, for example. So why are you hungry?
Where did I went for dinner?
I thought you were having dinner with I don't know family,
Where?
friends. Like,
Where?
I was hearing place. Let's leave it at that.
No, that was Sean C. You could hear plates in his background
Before
and
Sean C
Fabrice
came
That
in,
making.
was
your
me,
plate.
bro. I got a Nando's,
Before
man.
Sean C came, somebody's plate was ringing
That
over
was
here.
Fabrice. Man,
Ah,
did he
Fabrice.
not hear him
Okay.
say he was having breakfast?
Okay,
Oh,
okay,
stupid.
okay.
Yeah, I was eating.
Exactly. You
I was
see,
eating.
you see you're gonna get you're telling lies on me.
I'm
Apologize.
snitching on you.
Apologize.
Okay.
Apologize.
For thinking that you was making
Apologize.
play. Okay,
Apologize.
I got it wrong. I didn't know it was Sean C, but
No,
Hey, come on
that's
now.
not an
I
apology.
could
That's not an
swear it was
apology.
coming from your plate. I
That's not
didn't
an
know
apology.
that.
That's not an apology.
Oh,
Say
that's what you're
apologize.
getting for this evening.
Say sorry.
Don't be
Yeah,
petty, y'all. Come
exactly.
on.
Say sorry.
Sorry
Say
to who?
sorry. Me.
It's
You told
not
lies.
going to happen, Thanos. Tonight I am the detector. It's not gonna happen.
What?
Yes, I'm the detector this evening. Co-host
You know
detector.
what? You know what? I give you people. I let you people pass a place with me. Now. I'm not Lewis, you know. I don't do. I don't do kumbaya, you know. Don't.
Louis, Louis,
Anyway,
Louis is
anyway, that's cool, man. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna call it a night. We catch up tomorrow. Practice. We talk again after
Yeah,
practice. Free practice.
all right, guys.
Two.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fun chat, y'all.
I'm working from home tomorrow, so
Lucky you.
once I yeah.
Is it gonna be a depressing
I
Friday
mean,
into a
it's always a
optimistic
depressing Friday on
Saturday?
Twitter, isn't it?
It's gonna be
No,
so
but I'm saying
bad
like
Is
tomorrow.
it
It's gonna be
trendy?
raining.
It's good.
that's
Tomorrow it's gonna
Mercedes.
be
That's the
brute.
Mercedes
I
way.
expect it to be
We winning
brute.
this weekend.
I mean, no, it's.
Sometimes I just pretend not to see what I'm reading,
I
so
mean,
I don't respond.
when FP1 finishes and they're like
We're
P10, two
getting cooked
It
seconds
doesn't
already.
even.
behind Max,
It doesn't finish.
it's gonna be brutal.
No. It's not that. It's pretty much 50 after the what the medium the soft tire runs. The quality
That's it.
stream.
Yeah,
After that, the Twitter timeline lights up. Basically,
Nah,
it's
man,
gonna
That
be.
it's
they're
gonna
not
light
waiting
up.
for
Hey,
Trust me, it's
FP2 to
gonna light up
finish.
before that, man.
Yeah.
What?
listen,
FP1.
I
Go on, Diplo.
go ahead. I was gonna say I talked my shit about Mick last year because he kept crashing, but I gotta give him props because that boy is getting abused overtime labor hours. They're throwing him in the sim every
That's
FP1.
his job.
Every
Come on.
FP1
That's
that
pretty
they're
much his
P15
job.
and P16,
Yeah, but
they're
I
literally
mean,
sending him on a private
he's
jet
not
to
there.
Like at 3 in the morning,
to
Kingsley. That's
Brackley.
too much, bro.
He's not there for his
No.
good looks, you know.
It could be worse. He could be Mazepin.
I
Is
mean, he,
No,
I mean,
but
he's
it's
lucky Lewis
literally.
let him out let him out. You know what I mean? He's not there for
I'm
his
gonna
good
say
looks.
stay
Here's
in
how
the
I
sim.
imagine.
Yeah, he's not there for his
Here's
good
how I
looks.
imagine.
yeah.
I imagine that he comes to the track Friday. They go FP1 is a P15,
And he goes
P18
back to the sim
for
in the
Mercedes,
morning.
and
And they
then they're
say go to
literally
the
like,
sim. And then he
so
takes a
they're
picture at
literally
2:15. And I'm saying, no, don't leave. Lock him
private
inside. He
jet.
should be there. Don't talk.
But I mean, he's one of three same drivers, isn't he? Because
Yes.
Ant is one, and I
And
think
he's
they
driving.
still use
Yeah, but he's.
Esteban Gutierrez.
Gutierrez, was it Gutierrez?
Yeah,
What of
He's.
Yeah,
Van?
it's
Gutierrez.
I would
What of
argue
Van
Gutierrez.
that
Dorn? Van
he's the
Dorn,
best
doesn't he drive?
one.
Yeah, apparently Mick is the quickest though, so
No,
that's why they use
Van Dorn is with Aston,
That's
so I
okay.
don't think he does
mm,
the same
Same
work
work.
sim
for
drivers.
Mercedes.
Yeah.
So
I
it's Mick
think
and Ant and Gutierrez.
I, I think we do benefit from Mick having driven a
I
20
do. I don't
or a
know.
ground effect
That
car.
one won
I
me.
think that's a benefit.
Yeah. Anyway, we catch
But
up
yeah,
again
he's earning his
tomorrow,
keep.
guys.
All
It
right,
was
guys.
nice
Take care.
chatting to you all. Take it easy, and
Thank you.
everybody who tune in and listen, appreciate you listening in for this long. We catch up again tomorrow. Take it easy, and we're
All
out.
right,
Yeah,
gents.
nice
Bye.
one. See ya.